The story begins with the mention of a rarity red sword, an ultra-rare item. Demiki Aun, a 28-year-old senior swordsman and C-rank adventurer, confidently holds the red rarity magic sword, Flam. He insists there is no mistake in his appraisal skill despite the shopkeeper's surprise. When asked if he has formed a party, Demiki admits he operates solo ever since being betrayed by comrades and nearly dying, though the shopkeeper advises him to seriously consider teaming up with someone. Demiki internally rejects the idea of forming a party, believing there is nothing good about it. He explains it is easier to obtain rare items in a party, noting a trio from the royal capital is already A rank. Despite this, Demiki is determined to reach B rank soon and refuses to lose. Dismissing the idea that others' progress affects him, a stranger approaches and confirms Demiki's identity, addressing him as Mr. Aun. The stranger introduces himself as Mardas, leader of the A-rank party Red Silver Moon, and asks for Demiki's help. Others recognize Mardas as royalty and the real Red Silver Moon. Demiki questions if this is the same adventurer from the weapon shop earlier and cautiously asks what kind of help is needed. Mardas whispers that it depends on the task. Mardas explains a unicorn has appeared in the Forest of Eternal Darkness and requests Demiki's assistance in defeating it, promising a great reward. He notes the unicorn is a fast monster that often escapes, so Demiki's help is crucial, though they cannot offer the unicorn's horns as a reward. They need a capable attacker to ensure success. Demiki hesitates, reluctant to team up, but the 30 gold reward is tempting enough to consider joining. Demiki muses that with 30 coins, he could live comfortably for half a year and maybe take a break once this job is done. Mardas asks him to confirm the safety of their rear, and Demiki agrees as he checks the map carefully. The group prepares to move forward, with Demiki focused on ensuring their path is secure. Suddenly, Demiki spots the target and shouts that he has found it, urging everyone to get ready for battle. He draws his jagged sword swiftly, his eyes wide with determination. As Demiki approaches, a knife suddenly pierces through his chest. Shock and pain hit him hard, and he gasps in agony. Meanwhile, Mardas and his companions stand calmly nearby, ready to act. Demiki collapses to the ground, laughing bitterly despite the wound. Mardas mocks him, calling him an idiot for falling into their trap so easily. While the others chuckle at how effortlessly the fight ended, Demiki realizes he was deceived once again, recalling that one of the three figures nearby must have overheard his conversation with the weapon shopkeeper. He realizes the trap was set because items placed inside a magic bag can only be retrieved by their owner. They lured him into the forest and forced him to take out the magic sword Flam himself. He lies on the ground, sweating and frustrated, understanding the full extent of the deception. The leader of the group announces he will take the magic sword Flam, mocking how quickly he understood the situation. One of the group urges to leave, refusing to breathe the same air as him, but the leader insists he will never back down. The leader approaches with a raised sword, calling him persistent. The wounded man apologizes, but the leader ignores it, gripping his sword tightly and preparing to strike. The leader drives the sword into the man's back, declaring he is about to die anyway. The man screams in pain as blood seeps through his clothes. The leader watches coldly as the man falls, while two women nearby mockingly tell him to struggle all he likes. The leader leans down with a cruel smile, ordering him to die in agony. The man lies on the ground, barely moving, his hand trembling as he reaches out weakly. He lies face down in the grass, barely able to speak as his status is revealed. HP 5, bleeding, his eyes open slowly, filled with pain and frustration as he admits he was deceived again. With each moment, his HP drops to 4, and he knows there is nothing more he can do. His body weakens further, HP falling to 3, then 2, as he accepts he is going to die like this. A life marked by failure and endless endurance, memories of betrayal and deception flood his mind. Yet, a faint resolve stirs. If he is reborn, he will no longer endure and will become stronger than anyone, living freely. His HP hits 0, but confusion grips him. Why is he still conscious? He carefully checks his status. Deceased? HP 0/0. The reality sinks in, he is truly dead. He wonders if this is what dying feels like, expecting something more profound like ascending to heaven or an out-of-body experience. Instead, his body lies motionless, unable to move or speak, stripped of all senses but sight. He realizes he cannot do anything in this state, trapped in helpless stillness. Consciousness returns, but the stench of decay assaults him as he struggles to speak, unable to pronounce words properly. He questions how many days have passed in this state, feeling an intense hunger gnawing at him. He checks his status, desperate for answers. His status reveals his name as Demiki Aun, a rot ghoul zombie with decaying condition. His hunger level is at 1, HP is 20, and his stats have plummeted drastically. He wonders if a human can truly become a zombie. Horrified by his rotting flesh, he contemplates his low agility and questions if skills can increase. The scenery remains unchanged since his death, confirming he is in the forest of Everdark. Realizing he is now a monster hunted by adventurers, he notes the monsters here are low-tier undead that drop no items. He resolves to raise his level before encountering them to drive them off. Recalling his grandfather's advice to focus on what he can do now, he decides it's time to grind levels. Armed with his knowledge as a former adventurer and his magic bag's tools, he starts training with determination. 6 hours later, he is seen fiercely practicing combat against a training dummy. He finishes off another skeleton, tallying 9 defeated so far, and wonders if he has leveled up yet. Checking his status, he sees the skeleton's HP is 0 and notes his own level has reached 7. Despite this, his individual stats have barely improved, and he notices 21 remaining points he can allocate, puzzled by their meaning. Realization dawns that he can freely assign these points to his stats, and he eagerly boosts his agility to 2. Feeling the increase immediately, he reflects that while human stats reflect innate talent and effort, monsters differ. Their bodies transform according to their stats. Dexterity and intelligence are low priorities for him now, and as a rot ghoul zombie, he cannot use magic. Testing his newfound agility, he runs lightly and swiftly, confirming the theory that monster stats alter their bodies. Confident, he believes most monsters in the forest will be easy to defeat now, yet he reminds himself the real threat is the ghoul, whose high attack power means even one hit could be fatal. Observing a ghoul gnawing on a tree, he questions if it is truly a zombie. The ghoul dismisses the idea that eating would make sense but admits hunger drives it. He advises not to be bound by human common sense and considers himself a senior in the zombie world. Intrigued, the rot ghoul zombie decides there may be something to learn from this strange behavior. The rot ghoul zombie lunges forward, biting fiercely into the side of the ghoul's neck. Sinking his teeth deep, the ghoul recoils, mouth wide open in shock and pain. After the attack, the zombie steps back, swallowing the blood with a gulp, his expression showing a mix of satisfaction and determination. He kicks the ghoul with force, but nothing happens to his own status. Suddenly, a burst of light surrounds him as he levels up, his body glowing with energy. A new skill appears. Predation LV1, granting a small HP recovery effect upon consuming prey. The zombie bows respectfully to the fallen ghoul, apologizing silently as he promises never to forget him. He then dashes off, thinking that thanks to his increased agility, he can now find monsters faster. He swiftly attacks and defeats another monster, continuing his leveling journey. A ghoul emerges from the bushes, heading straight toward him. The zombie considers running away with his current agility, but firmly grips a nearby branch instead. He recalls the moment he died and the decision he made then, steeling himself to face the approaching threat. He vows to become stronger than anyone. Gripping his sword with fierce determination, he pushes forward, resolved to become strong and live as he pleases, striking down his opponent decisively. He lands a powerful blow, defeating a stronger foe and feeling triumphant. As he stands over the fallen enemy, a sudden change begins to take hold within him. Confused, he questions the impact of this transformation. He recalls that monsters can drastically change form, and realizes he can allocate his status points himself. He decides to raise agility to eliminate his weakness, selecting the evolution to devour a ghoul. Suddenly, he discovers he can speak, uttering vowels with surprise. His status information appears before him, confirming the change as his body shifts into a new form. His race has become ghoul and his overall stats have risen, especially strength and endurance. The decay status ailment is gone, and not smelling awful feels incredible. He realizes he can speak now and, if he sorts out his clothes, might even converse with humans. Excited, he begins moving through the forest, feeling that things just got seriously fun. Determined, he vows to raise his levels higher and become even stronger as he dashes forward with fierce resolve. He admits he's starving and near his limit, having eaten only tree bark since becoming a zombie. All he has left are amandake mushrooms, which in small doses help sleep but cause the sleep status if overused. Despite his iron stomach preventing his gut from falling apart, he still suffers status ailments and wonders why he's the only one stuck with this. A sharp command interrupts his sulking, telling him to stop. He declares his vow to become stronger than anyone, surpassing the crimson silver moon and the storm cloud guests. His determination hardens as he resolves to grow strong no matter what. Hearing the sound of a river nearby, he hopes to catch some fish to eat. He dives into the river with a splash, spotting his target. However, the current proves stronger than expected, and he struggles underwater, realizing the situation is dangerous. He barely escapes, crawling out of the water exhausted and relieved to have survived by luck, aware there won't be a second chance. He resolves to be more careful and decides to head deeper into the cave. A glowing magic circle marks the entrance to a dungeon. He steps onto it, unsure what awaits inside but knowing retreat only leads back to the waterfall. He hopes there might be monsters he can eat and commands, "Let us go," as the circle activates beneath him. Inside, the dungeon reveals a quiet, overgrown chamber with stone walls and scattered flowers. He walks barefoot, observing the unfamiliar surroundings and the growl of something nearby. His stomach rumbles, but he notes, "That is not my stomach," as a sharp eye watches him from the shadows. An orc appears, rank E monster, growling fiercely while wielding a large weapon. A book explains monsters are ranked from F to SSS, with S and above being legendary and rare, found only in dangerous zones. The orc's threatening presence fills the dungeon corridor. He clenches his hand, warning himself to behave, but hunger takes over. He lunges at the orc, declaring, "Let me devour you, pork!" Despite being equals as rank E monsters, the orc looks like tempting prey to him in his current state. He turns back, noting the fight ended more easily than expected, with a sly grin. He taunts the orc, daring it to attack after slaughtering its comrades. The orc remains silent, but he mocks its pride, urging it to fight like a man. The orc lunges clumsily, but he dodges effortlessly and counters with a brutal bite, tearing into the orc's arm. The orc gasps in pain and collapses, blood pouring as he sinks his teeth deeper. He devours the orc ravenously, declaring it delicious and calling orcs a beverage. Despite eating the entire orc, he remains unsatisfied, licking his hands clean and savoring the taste. Holding a piece of meat on the bone, he craves more. He notices a staircase leading upward and realizes this dungeon requires climbing. As he ascends, a sudden realization strikes him mid-bite. He faces a large group of orcs armed with spears blocking the dungeon passage. Their hostile glares meet his as he nervously clutches a chunk of orc meat, realizing what it is. The orcs advance in a single file down the stairs, and he apologizes for the intrusion. He moves barefoot, dodging their attacks with ease, noting that facing them one by one is like an all-you-can-eat buffet. He bites into an orc's back, striking swiftly. With a fierce grin, he taunts the orcs, calling the fight a cafeteria. He leaps forward, evading their strikes as they stagger behind him, retreating down the hall. After defeating over 20 orcs, he surveys the carnage, shaken by their numbers. He identifies the place as the rumored spawn room. Understanding why so many die here, holding the orc meat, he remarks on the tasty experience points before checking his status. He acknowledges his attack power still lacks against groups and decides to prioritize strength and agility from now on. As he eats, he reflects that his thinking feels more impulsive than when he was human. Maybe his brain is becoming more monster-like. Despite this, he strangely does not hate it and considers this version of himself not so bad. His stomach growls even after eating 25 orcs, puzzling him about what's wrong with it. Checking his status, he notices his predation skill has leveled up to 3, granting increased natural HP recovery while satiated. He resolves to proceed upward, expecting more monsters and food, but finds nothing in the next corridor. He cautiously explores the upper floors, running upstairs and walking through a corridor overgrown with vines. The area resembles the corridor on the first floor, but something suddenly catches his attention, startling him. He encounters a group of orc archers and fighters, all monster rank E+. He notes the third floor has orc archers too and wonders if the dungeon supplies their arrows. As their quivers do not decrease, he swiftly dodges an incoming attack, preparing for the fight ahead. He decides to prioritize eliminating the archers since he can't rely on them running out of ammunition. Moving swiftly, he lunges forward with clawed hands and feet, aiming to take down the ranged threat first. He lands a powerful punch that crushes one orc's head. Shocking himself at the ease of the attack, confident, he wonders if he can drop all enemies with a single punch, smiling as he anticipates the rest falling like dominoes. Reflecting on the dungeon's structure, he recalls that typically a boss awaits at the deepest point, followed by a magic circle to teleport out. However, this small dungeon only holds rank E monsters, and no boss appears. He resolves to raise his level more before reaching the boss room. Suddenly, a prompt appears, asking him to select his evolution destination. Giant ogre, cursed mummy, or Oni human. He contemplates if his choice of ghoul for his first evolution has led him into the Oni lineage. Considering their traits, he weighs the options carefully, knowing this decision holds great importance. He recalls that Oni human wasn't listed in the monster compendium but feels he has heard the term before. Suddenly, an intense electric shock courses through him, causing a sharp pain. He panics, insisting he didn't mean to choose that evolution. The pain fades, and he notices it wasn't there the first time, wondering if it has settled down. He urgently commands to check his status. The screen reveals Demiki Aun at level 20, with detailed stats and titles including Skills Iron Stomach, Pain Resistance, Predation LV3, Glutton. He chuckles, questioning if the change is too drastic, then calmly pets a resting animal. Preparing for battle, he declares a test of his strength and decides to retreat if the next floor is the boss room. Aiming to punch some orcs first, 3 orcs appear. An orc swordsman, an orc guard, and an orc mage, all rank D monsters. The orc guard acknowledges him as a formidable foe. Activating his skills Mighty Arms and Swift, he charges forward with confidence. He targets the orc general among the group, recognizing it as the most troublesome enemy. Dumikion launches a swift attack, striking through the orc guard's defenses with overwhelming force. His eyes narrow with fierce determination as he shouts, "Bumo!" The impact sends the orc flying backward, and Dumiki mutters in awe, "This is incredible." He reflects on his evolution, amazed that his strength now surpasses what he had as a human. Even though he fights barehanded, he recalls that he was originally a rank C adventurer, but adventurer rank depends on the strength of a 4-person party. Fighting solo, even with strategy, he could barely defeat rank D monsters before. Now, combining his physical ability with his previous knowledge and technique, he leaps into battle again. He dodges an orc's shield bash and lands a powerful strike, confident he might even defeat a rank A adventurer. The orc guard, battered and on the ground, loses interest and dismissively tells Dumiki to spend his life trembling while running away. Dumiki glares coldly and calls him a pig bastard, his resolve unshaken. Dumikion stands barefoot before a massive door, declaring it is probably the entrance to the boss room. He focuses, noting the boss is most likely an orc. He contemplates the worst-case scenario. Facing an orc king, an overwhelmingly strong rank A orc monster, resolute, he admits he won't know until he goes inside. He pushes the heavy door open and shouts "Charge!" As he steps into a vast chamber, observing the size of the room, he cautiously advances barefoot, preparing for what lies ahead. Inside, he encounters 3 orc berserkers, rank C monsters, wielding axes and ready to attack. The orcs call out their presence, and Dumikion reacts with surprise, assessing the threat before him. A towering red ogre, a mutant individual ranked B+, stands behind the orc berserkers. Dumikion recognizes the danger and reflects that even though he has grown stronger with enhanced strength, agility, and powerful arms, he wouldn't survive if he took all their attacks head-on. He steels himself for the fight ahead. Dumikion charges forward, commanding to take down the berserker first and turn the fight into a one-on-one. He lunges at the towering red ogre, throwing a fierce punch aimed at its face. The ogre, wielding 2 axes, blocks the attack and questions if Dumikion planned to cut him down together with the berserkers. The smaller orcs rush forward aggressively, surrounding them. Dumikion dodges a heavy axe swing from the ogre, clenching his fist as he prepares to counter. Suddenly, a large hand reaches down toward him, catching him by the collar, halting his movement. The ogre slams Dumikion into the ground with a powerful strike, but the swordsman quickly recovers, reminding himself to stay calm and recall his grandfather's advice in moments like this. A masked figure urges Dumikion to make up his mind and not lose spirit, warning that if his attack doesn't hit, it will deal no damage. Dumiki grins fiercely, shouting to crank the vibes to the max as he lunges forward with determination. Dumiki sprints through a stone corridor, gripping a wooden staff tightly. He swiftly dodges and counters an incoming strike, his movements sharp and precise as he closes the distance to his opponent. Dumiki slashes fiercely at the towering red ogre, cutting deeply into its side. The ogre roars in pain but snarls that it still has plenty of axes left. Dumiki taunts, reminding the ogre of the pig it cut in half earlier, then quickly readies another strike. The ogre swings a massive arm, but Dumiki nimbly evades and counters with a powerful axe strike. Shouting for the ogre to take this, he follows up with a swift kick, grinning confidently as he claims the attack as his own. Dumikion leaps down with fierce determination, shouting that it isn't over yet as he crashes his axe into the red ogre's head. The ogre's face contorts in pain and surprise from the brutal strike. The ogre screams wildly, swinging its massive arm toward Dumiki, who charges forward barefoot, clutching his axe tightly. Blood splatters as the ogre's attack lands, but Dumiki presses on relentlessly. Dumiki grimaces in pain as the ogre's blow strikes him, but he snarls back fiercely, refusing to be compared to a mere pig. He warns the ogre to get serious or face being torn apart and devoured. With a powerful swing, Dumiki finally lands a decisive blow, sending the ogre crashing down, breathing heavily. He stands over the fallen foe, questioning if the battle has finally quieted. Dumikion catches his breath, admitting he might have overdone it but doesn't regret his actions. He acknowledges how his excitement makes his mouth foul, then sits down, frustrated that this flaw can't be fixed. He grimaces as he bites down on his weapon's handle, steadying himself. Reflecting on the fight, he admits it would have been bad without a weapon since the red ogre lacks good maneuverability. He forced his way inside the ogre's guard by boosting skills but knows fighting barehanded against a B-rank monster is reckless. Suddenly, a new skill called Skill Appraisal Eye activates, revealing detailed information about weapons and armor. He recalls the weapon shop owner mentioning this convenient skill. After the ogre's defeat, Dumiki notices something emerging from the floor. A treasure chest. He eagerly approaches, excited about the potential loot. Though he couldn't consume the ogre, he knows there's still a harvest to claim. With anticipation, he prepares to open the chest, wondering what awaits inside. The chest reveals a massive iron club, and Dumiki's Skill Appraisal Eye highlights its rarity, attack power, and special effects. Overwhelmed by the flood of information and emotions, he decides to pause and organize what he's learned before proceeding further. As a monster unable to casually approach towns, he activates the Skill Appraisal Eye to examine the Red Ogre's iron club. The weapon's rarity is red, indicating super rare status with an unclear attack power but a destructive effect on opponents' weapons or armor. He recalls that the Demon Sword Flam also had red rarity, meaning this club is something people would kill for. The rarity scale shows blue as rare, red as super rare, white as common, green as high class, gold as mythical, and purple as legendary, with red items obtainable in dungeons and weapon shops. He decides to appraise other items, including a magic bag from Grenopa, which also has red rarity and a large capacity only accessible by its owner. Despite its value, he refuses to sell it, knowing its worth. He plans to collect the Orc Berserker's meat before leaving, noting the magic circle nearby likely marks the exit. Spotting a suspicious button on the wall shaped to tempt him to push it, he hesitates, aware it might trigger a trap. After weighing the risk, he resolves to push it, eyes wide with determination. The button activates a hidden staircase leading upward. He wonders if the boss room is on the top floor as he ascends cautiously, a mix of anticipation and resolve crossing his face while gripping the stairs tightly. He emerges into a breathtaking room filled with sparkling foliage and a serene pond crossed by a wooden bridge. His eyes widen in shock as he whispers, questioning what this place could be. Approaching the center, he spots a glowing altar nestled among the spring's shimmering waters. Curiosity piqued, he runs forward, reaching out to touch a radiant sphere resting on the altar. Holding the glowing orb, he admits it looks oddly appetizing but doubts it's edible. Yet, the thought of it makes his hunger grow, and he hesitantly decides to just eat it. Suddenly, a familiar voice calls out to him, "Zombie Senpai!" The figure of his mentor appears, giving a thumbs up and affirming that he cut through the chains of common sense for him. The young man reflects on how his senpai's teachings shaped who he is now, then swallows the orb with determination. The young man feels a sudden surge as a voice confirms the dungeon core absorption has been confirmed. Shock floods him when he realizes the glowing sphere has transformed him into the dungeon master of the Fornoir Labyrinth. His intelligence begins to rise to the required level, and he fully becomes the individual known as Dumiki Aun. Staggering back, he stammers in disbelief, calling out, "Dungeon Master?" before a fiery voice scolds him, calling him a fool. Suddenly, an angry stuffed pig toy bounces into view, steaming with frustration. It yells at him for almost being eaten, questioning the meaning of such an act. The young man stares in stunned silence, muttering, "Pig? A stuffed toy?" as the bizarre scene sinks in. The young man introduces himself as Ars and questions the talking stuffed pig plushie, which declares itself a dungeon core. The pig explains it couldn't move or speak until being eaten by Ars, after which it somehow gained the ability to communicate. Ars processes this strange revelation, noting the plushie's speech. Ars asks what a dungeon core is, and the pig explains it manages a dungeon without a master, acting as a management proxy. The pig clarifies that a dungeon master appears only once every 100 years or so. Ars then wonders what a dungeon master can do and if he can leave the dungeon, prompting the pig to offer an explanation. The pig reveals the dungeon's official name, Fornoir Labyrinth, and defines a dungeon master as the ruler and administrator of this labyrinth. Continued, the pig details that a dungeon master can use dungeon points to summon monsters, create new floors and rooms, and generate treasure chests. Even if the master is not physically present, the pig can act as a management proxy with granted authority. Ars realizes dungeons are managed by someone and asks how dungeon points increase. The pig explains points grow based on the energy from monsters generated in the dungeon and from non-dungeon master beings acting or dying within the dungeon's domain. Ars demands the pig, now granted full authority, make him some clothes as a test and something to hide his horns. The pig agrees, while Ars learns he can automatically generate monsters now. The pig notes the red ogre is generated when Ars wins, and Ars asks if absorbing the red ogre immediately collects points. The pig lets it slide since Ars is alive but says it's different. Ars learns that if he recovers dead monsters, he can summon them again, understanding how the system works. The pig comments on Ars having very few points left, and a red ogre appears behind them, emphasizing the difficulty of Ars's job. Ars reflects on recent events. Becoming a dungeon master, then a zombie, evolving into a ghoul, an Oni man, and finally dying. Despite this, he doesn't feel like a true dungeon master yet. He finds comfort in having someone to talk to. Even if it's just a plush pig, considering his safe base secured, he decides to visit the spring to see if he can see his reflection. He wonders what he looks like now and prepares to explain more to the pig. He catches the pig staring and asks what it's looking at. The pig gushes over Ars's new, unexpectedly cute appearance, calling him adorable. Ars is surprised by this different persona but accepts the compliment with a smile. The pig asks about Ars's clothes, and Ars proudly shows off a simple, nice outfit the pig made. When asked what he'll do next, Ars reveals he knows the location of another dungeon and plans to raid it after resting. He then offers to explain 2 more of the master's abilities, surprising the pig with how much there is left to learn. Ars explains the first ability. Within the dungeon, he can move freely and instantly return outside via intra-labyrinth transfer and labyrinth return. The second ability is subordination contract, where scouting and forming a contract with another party creates a connection, allowing mana flow to the subordinate. This also grants telepathy, enabling conversation even when far apart without words. Ars is shocked by this revelation, and the pig confirms it has been taken into Ars, forming a connection between them. Ars struggles to absorb so much information at once, admitting he can't remember more than this. The pig reminds him that subordinates can also use the previously explained transfer and return abilities. Ars decides to use his remaining points to make a bed. Planning to change clothes, check his status, and get some sleep, he settles down, reflecting that he has obtained a safe base and is about to enjoy his first sleep in several days. His status screen shows his name as Dumiki Aun, an Oni man level 25 with full HP and MP, and skills like Iron Stomach, Pain Resistance, Martial Arts, LV2, Big Eater, Strong Arms, Agility, and Appraisal Eye. He bids good night and falls asleep. He wakes up groggily on the grass, confused about where he is. He recalls eating the dungeon core and falling asleep. Realizing it wasn't a dream after all, a hand reaches out, telling him he seems to have woken up. The pig informs Ars he slept lightly for 3 days. Ars confirms the pig made the room next to the core room so the master could sleep comfortably. Ars asks if he was going to another dungeon, and the pig confirms, though Ars hesitates if that's okay. The pig reassures him, explaining that when the dungeon master is absent, the core can manage the dungeon in their stead, just like itself. If Ars absorbs that core too, that dungeon will have him as its master. Ars processes this information. Quietly, Ars declares he will head out right away and that if anything happens, they can communicate via telepathy. The pig agrees, saying the transfer magic circle to go outside is in the core room and wishes Ars to take care on his way. Ars turns to leave, smiling confidently as he says, "Yeah." Ars stands inside the dungeon core room, then exits through a door. He arrives by a river, recognizing it as the place where he was swept away. He knows the way outside and decides to put up his hood just in case someone sees him. With a confident smile, Ars announces his destination. Soryoka Hygen, the verdant plains. He swiftly moves through the forest, disappearing into the bushes as he begins his journey. The scene shifts to the wide open verdant plains. Ars moves quickly through the underbrush, thinking to himself that from now on, he'll casually hunt monsters as he travels. Suddenly, a large horned rabbit monster charges at him fiercely. Ars launches a powerful attack against the horned rabbit monster, striking it down with force. He continues fighting off goblin monsters with swift, precise blows. Suddenly, he notices something and stops, turning to look with curiosity. A wild fox appears nearby, catching his attention as he quietly wonders what it is. A pack of gray wolves approaches, identified as rank C monsters. Ars notes their opponent is a fox-type magic beast that growls fiercely. The fox stands its ground, barking defiantly at the wolves. It suddenly launches a powerful counterattack, striking one wolf's head with a sharp impact. Ars admires the fox's courage despite its small size, impressed that it refuses to back down against stronger foes. He clenches his fist with a smile, feeling his own agility rising as he prepares to engage. He leaps into the fray, calling out to the fox and offering help. The fox seems to recognize him as an ally, responding with a friendly sound. Ars acknowledges the fox's intelligence, noting it figured out he isn't an enemy. He apologizes for interrupting the hunt and offers to let the wolves go if they aren't hostile. The wolves growl and charge forward, but Ars calmly stands his ground, gripping his weapon tightly as the confrontation intensifies. Ars launches a fierce attack, shouting that his opponent is too slow as he strikes. The impact lands hard, eliciting a pained cry from the fox. Ars grins wildly, exhilarated by the fight. He surveys the aftermath, noting the surprising power of his strike even without using his full strength. He notices the fox has two tails and comments on the rarity. Ars reaches into his magic bag and finds a recovery potion to heal the fox. He gently stabs the potion into the fox's back, calling it cute despite its trembling. He observes the fox seems to be alone and offers it a chance to become his companion, smiling warmly as he invites it to come with him. The fox responds with a joyful bark, and Ars feels a sudden connection between them. He admits this is his first time forming such a bond and is unsure but relieved the subordination contract worked. Ars asks the fox its name, greeting it warmly as they begin their partnership. Ars notices the fox's cry and realizes it doesn't have a name. He recalls hearing a similar sound called kinu in his grandfather's hometown and suggests naming the fox that, comparing it to a beautiful cloth matching its fur color. He decides to start by leveling the fox up. He urges Kinu to move as they launch into action, the fox fiercely attacking a target. Ars praises Kinu's strength, saying it might have beaten the gray wolves if they had been more numerous. He tells Kinu to rest while he keeps watch nearby. The fox's tails begin to sparkle and shimmer, signaling an evolution. Kinu's form glows with energy as the transformation completes. He excitedly confirms Kinu evolved safely and asks if it can move. Kinu nods affirmatively. Ars declares they will continue leveling up and head toward their next destination, calling out to Kinu as they prepare to move forward together. A heavy footstep lands with a thud, and the figure in a hood coughs softly, muttering magic. He grins and asks if the fox is strong despite its cuteness. The fox barks happily, tails sparkling. The figure steps forward confidently as the sound of hooves approaches. A horse-drawn cart coming into view. The hooded man examines a limp white animal, puzzled, while the fox watches. A small, energetic red panda beast man named Balbal introduces himself as a traveling merchant. He compliments the fox's strength and asks if the man is a tamer. The hooded man nods, and Balbal admits he's met beast folk before. Balbal then asks what the man needs, apologizing for the late introduction. The hooded man requests to buy the meat of a horned rabbit, surprising Balbal, who asks if he wants the fur or horn instead. The man clarifies he wants the meat. Balbal explains that strong monsters have made hunting impossible near his hometown, Yahello village, causing a food shortage. He offers the meat for free, guessing the man is in trouble. The hooded man smiles widely and promises to repay the kindness, asking Balbal to help him if he ever gets into trouble. Balbal, touched, tries to say the man's name, Aun, which the fox repeats excitedly. The fox's joyful bark fills the air as Balbal offers to load the horned rabbit onto the cart, confirming it's stored in the magic bag. Balbal bows deeply, thanking Aun for the meat and urging him to be careful on the road. Aun reveals the horned rabbit stored in his magic bag, dazzling Balbal with its incredible capacity. He asks Balbal to keep it a secret before waving goodbye and heading off with his fox companion. Aun asks the fox if it wants to come along, and the fox replies with a cheerful bark. They approach a rocky area where Aun crouches down, sensing that what they seek should be nearby. He discovers a glowing magic circle inside a cave and calls out to Ars telepathically, confirming he can hear him. Ars, surprised, asks what it is. While the fox happily acknowledges the connection, Aun explains he found the spot from a previous visit. He asks the pig plush for help checking the status of his newly contracted fox-type magic beast, named Kinu. The plush confirms the contract is already made and explains that touching part of the subordinate's body reveals its status. Aun gently pets Kinu, calling it cute while checking its status. Aun examines Kinu's stats and skills, amazed by her high intelligence and endurance that explain how she survived surrounded by gray wolves. He realizes magic speed surpasses physical attacks, impressed by her potential. He praises Kinu warmly, explaining she's like a mage who can fight on the front lines. Aun encourages her to focus on raising intelligence to grow stronger, and asks her to try casting healing on herself. Kinu responds with a happy bark. Aun watches in awe as Kinu's healing glows and restores 200 HP. He wonders if healing scales with intelligence and envisions her evolving into a legendary class monster. He declares their shared goal with determination. He smiles confidently, urging Kinu to aim for legendary class together. Kinu happily wags her tail and barks in agreement. Their bond strengthened as they set their sights on the future. Aun gestures confidently, declaring they will punch their way into the dungeon. He explains to Kinu that this place is called a dungeon, where many monsters appear, making it perfect for leveling up. He plans to defeat every monster they encounter and eat the meat of any monsters that look edible. He asks Kinu if she can eat monster meat, and she happily barks in response. Suddenly, a gray wolf with a monster ranky appears, growling and charging toward them. Aun prepares to face the threat as the wolf lunges. He strikes the wolf with a powerful blow, sending it flying. He recalls the spot as where he found the magic sword Flam back when he was still human. He notes how much he has evolved since then. Kinu, now refreshed, seems relieved after being frustrated by the gray wolves earlier. He checks his status and realizes he has reached level 29. He reflects on his past evolutions into a ghoul at level 10 and an ogrekin at level 20, and notes that at level 30, there is a high chance of another evolution. He confesses to Kinu that he is actually a monster too and might evolve soon. He warns her that during evolution, he won't be able to move for a few minutes and asks her to watch over him when that happens. Kinu excitedly calls out, her energy infectious. Aun smiles, reassured by her spirit, and decides to move forward confidently with her. Suddenly, multiple goblins of monster ranky rush toward them, but Aun swiftly strikes them down with powerful blows. Gray wolves of monster ranky appear, surrounding them. Aun senses the imminent threat and tells Kinu that his evolution is coming, entrusting her with the responsibility to handle the situation. Kinu nods in understanding as the wolves close in. Kinu leaps forward to confront the wolves as Aun's vision sharpens, prompting an attribute selection screen to appear. He debates how much time he has to decide, then impulsively chooses intuition over the elemental attributes. Next, he faces the choice of evolution paths, surprised by the unexpected options. Shocked that special evolutions like Doppelganger and Thunder Ogre are available, Aun struggles with the decision. Despite the pressure, he recalls his promise to Kinu and resolves firmly to choose, his determination clear as the moment of transformation approaches. Aun commands his companion to go wild, unleashing the small fox-like creature with a mask as it barks energetically. The creature dashes forward, its fierce determination clear as it approaches Aun, who is still recovering on the ground. He reassures himself that the pain isn't as bad as expected and wonders if his viewpoint has risen. He asks Kinu to watch their surroundings while he checks his status, his expression a mix of focus and relief. Reviewing his status, Aun marvels at his new abilities and stats. Level 30, lightning attribute and powerful skills like Charge Lightning and Thunderflash that boost his strength and agility dramatically. He contemplates stacking Charged Armor and Thunderclap, amazed at the overwhelming power these skills grant him. Despite the strength gained, Aun feels it still isn't enough and resolves to test everything once they reach a wider area. He thanks Kinu and dashes forward with his spiked weapon, the fox companion happily following as they navigate the dungeon corridors, encountering a dead end but pressing onward with determination. 2 hours later, Aun swings his massive spiked weapon, smashing through enemies with relentless force. He wipes sweat from his brow, relieved, and declares he can finally advance to the second floor. His fox companion eagerly follows as he approaches a staircase, but shadowy figures watch from the darkness, unnoticed. Aun arrives at a spawn room filled with low-rank monsters. Goblins, goblin lancers, and gray wolves. He assesses the situation calmly. Confident this challenge is easy, his fox, Kinu, looks eager to fight, and Aun promises to assist immediately if things get dangerous. Without hesitation, Aun commands Kinu to attack. The fox dashes forward with a fierce bark, charging into the fray as Aun stands ready behind her, weapon poised. The fox dashes forward, weaving through a group of goblin lancers wielding spears. Observers wonder if the fox has a plan as it heads toward the wall. Suddenly, the fox leaps high, preparing to strike. Aun unleashes an explosive area of effect magic attack, drawing the monsters in deliberately before wiping them out all at once. The fox coughs but quickly recovers, earning praise for the precise strike. He watches as Kinu, the fox, remains unharmed despite the overwhelming number of foes. He notes her efficient fight strategy and calls out in surprise, wondering if she has evolved again. Kinu responds with a bark. He asks Kinu to show her status, admiring her cuteness as he checks. Her race has changed to Sky Fox. With endurance, dexterity, and intelligence significantly increased, she gained a new skill called Clarity, which boosts intelligence by 50%. Aun advises both Kinu and Khan to use this skill first in future fights to improve their effectiveness. Aun prepares to test his new skill, calling out to Kinu and Khan as he steps outside a dungeon-like structure. He hesitates, surprised by the outside brightness, then confirms they are still inside the dungeon despite the open landscape. He notes the brightness lacks sunlight, realizing they remain within the dungeon's bounds. Aun anticipates the difficulty of finding the next floor, while Kinu growls softly. Suddenly, he spots a pack of black wolves, identifying them as rank D monsters, and readies himself for battle. Aun conjures multiple lightning orbs, commanding them to attack the wolves. The orbs strike simultaneously but fail to finish the wolves off. He observes the attack's limitation, realizing the wolves are not defeated yet. The wolves resist the magic, their movements not responding as expected, possibly due to a status ailment effect. Excited by the potential of his skill, Aun encourages Kinnu and Khan to watch closely. As the wolves begin to move back, he prepares to finish them off with a decisive strike. Aun activates Thunderflash, doubling his strength and agility for 5 minutes as he launches a rapid assault on the black wolves. The wolf grins proudly, asking how that was, while Aun boasts about saving the Thunderflash combo for the boss. He spots a tall tower and questions if it is the boss room door. He notes the guards, trolls and greater wolves, both ranked sea monsters. He explains trolls have regeneration, warning that half-hearted attacks only wear him down. He orders Kinnu to take on the greater wolf as he charges the trolls, taunting them to last 1 more minute before he retreats. He unleashes Charge, So-Den, boosting his intelligence, strength, agility, and granting lightning attributes. He swings his electrified weapon, striking a troll with a powerful blow that sends it reeling. Aun notes the troll's wounds still aren't regenerating and their regen speed isn't fast. He warns them they won't last a minute if they don't regen quicker, then crashes his weapon into a wooden pillar, shattering it. The troll angrily swings its club as Aun dodges. The troll roars and charges, but Aun swiftly evades and counters with a powerful strike. He surveys the battlefield and realizes only one enemy remains. Aun punches the last troll repeatedly with bare hands, remarking that 3 enemies fell in 12 seconds, faster than expected. He calls out urgently to Khan and Kinnu, sensing something is wrong. Hesitating to intervene, Aun thinks he's being overprotective. Suddenly, Kinnu launches a powerful attack at a wolf, which yelps in pain and spins around, clearly hurt. 2 wolves face off as one suddenly leaps at the other. The white wolf howls fiercely, launching a powerful attack that sends the darker wolf crashing backward. Aun exhales deeply, calling out to Kinnu and Khan to rest before the boss fight. He praises Khan's insane fighting style. Nearby, a treasure chest is revealed, containing concealment earrings that hide status from appraisal, but not from high-level scans. The chest's rarity is blue, and Aun declares it a jackpot. He asks Khan if he can use the concealment earrings to make entering town safer. Khan nods, and Aun notes Kinnu's MP has recovered, so they prepare to move forward. He opens a large door, stepping into a dimly lit chamber. Inside, 2 upper-tier B-rank ogres stand ready. A horsehead ogre and an oxhead ogre. Aun sighs at the hassle and decides to take them on one at a time. He instructs Kinnu to stay on support and to keep the oxhead ogre in check with magic while he finishes off the horsehead ogre first. Aun charges forward with fierce determination, shouting he's going in as the small fox companion runs alongside him. He conjures a lightning orb and hurls it at the horsehead ogre, who reacts swiftly. Aun notes the ogre is faster than he expected. The ogre swings its sword with brutal force, but Aun blocks the attack with his spiked club. He realizes these ogres, though ranked the same as a red ogre, are clearly stronger. His strike aimed to break the weapon fails to even chip it, leaving him stunned and questioning if these are special individuals. Aun presses the attack, slamming into the horse-headed ogre with all his might. Suddenly, a sharp sound rings out, and Aun looks toward the source in alarm. He calls out to Kinnu, sensing something is wrong. He rushes to Kinnu's side as she lies limp and unconscious. He checks her status, confirming her HP is down and MP is unconscious. Though judging by her status she should be okay, he worries deeply. Kneeling beside her, he urges her to stay still and rest, his expression tightening with frustration and regret over what happened. Aun charges fiercely at the horse-headed ogre, shouting that he won't give them an easy death. He acknowledges the oxhead and horsehead ogre's attack on Kinnu but insists this is also his way of testing the enemy and their limits, cursing them as livestock bastards. The horse-headed ogre swings its weapon down, but Aun dodges nimbly and counters with a powerful strike. He conjures a lightning orb, preparing to unleash it as the battle intensifies. Aun's attack lands with explosive force, shattering the ground beneath the ogre. The horse-headed foe groans in pain, stunned by the impact as debris flies around. Using a skill called air step, Aun leaps gracefully through the air, adjusting his posture midair. He taunts the horse-headed ogre not to get distracted, readying himself for the next move in their fierce confrontation. Aun launches a fierce kick at the horse-headed ogre, sending it crashing violently into the wall. He braces himself, eyes sharp and alert, as the ogre slams into the stone with a thunderous impact. Surveying the aftermath, Aun turns to check on Kinnu and Khan, who lie unconscious nearby. His voice breaks the silence as he calls out to Kinnu, concern etched across his face. Suddenly, a bright light bursts forth, and Aun quickly commands a status check. The light reveals Kinu's level rising to 30, signaling an evolution. Aun rushes toward her, urgency in his steps. Kinu stirs, curled up and vulnerable, her ears twitching as she awakens. Aun watches in surprise as she softly asks if he kissed her, the moment charged with quiet emotion. Kinu slowly stirs and blinks awake, her ears twitching as she recalls a soft sensation. She murmurs quietly, asking if Aun kissed her, her expression gentle and dreamy. Kinu sits quietly, a gentle smile on her face as she softly responds with a hum. Aun's eyes widen in shock as he realizes she's completely naked. He urgently calls out her name and quickly offers her a cloak, insisting she wear it immediately. She stands wrapped in the oversized cloak, looking somewhat unsure but calm. Aun beams, calling her cute in the cloak and declares it perfect for now. A sturdy chest appears nearby, and Aun eagerly urges it to give Kinu something good, his excitement palpable as he reaches for it. The chest reveals a full set of traditional clothing, labeled as a Kuro-S garb, a legendary red rarity male-only armor with a defense boost. Aun tells Kinu she can't really wear it, but she quietly agrees to put it on, noting her old clothes were already in tatters. As Aun turns away, Kinu curiously examines a button on the garment, wondering what it does. Aun reappears dressed in the new outfit, striking a confident pose and asking Kinu how he looks, claiming he resembles his grandpa. Kinu watches him silently, her tail twitching as she processes the change. Suddenly, stairs materialize in front of them, surprising both as they prepare to move forward. Aun praises Kinu for her navigation, declaring this must be the way to the core room. Kinu glows with pride, overwhelmed that he praised her. They hurry up the stairs together, their footsteps echoing as they ascend. Aun shields his eyes, focusing ahead with determination. They emerge from the stairs into a bright, open space bathed in sunlight, revealing a massive tree surrounded by flowers and stone walls. Both pause, noticing a sparkling entrance at the tree's base. Curiosity piqued, they approach the glowing opening. Inside the tree, a small shrine-like structure radiates light. The dungeon core. Aun and Kinu stand before it. Holding hands, Aun opens his mouth wide and bites into a glowing orb from the core, absorbing its energy. His body glows intensely as the core's power flows into him, while Kinu watches in awe. Confirmation appears. The dungeon core absorption is complete, and Aun Demiki is registered as master of the Plainwelt Labyrinth. His intelligence stats have increased to the required threshold. Kinu wonders what kind of guardian the core is, realizing it has completely consumed Aun. Suddenly, the zombie wolf plushie reacts with urgency, shouting orders to prepare girls' clothes immediately and to use dungeon points right away. Aun is shocked as Kinu declares she wants to match with him, her expression earnest. The zombie wolf plushie obediently responds, "You understood, master." Nearby, Aun and Kinu stand before a large chest. A dazzling red yukata dress appears, labeled as a top-tier work from the land of the sun. Granting plus 15 defense, Aun tells Kinu to go change outside. Noting she is the new dungeon master's cute girl, Kinu blushes, and Aun introduces himself simply, inviting her to call him Aun. The dungeon core of Plainwelt introduces itself as Elos, greeting Aun warmly. Aun returns the greeting, mentioning he already masters another dungeon called Foray Noir. Elos acknowledges sensing the connections held by a master. Elos offers to explain Aun's new abilities, and Aun agrees. Elos reveals the new skills, Labyrinth Warp and Labyrinth Sync. Elos explains that Labyrinth Warp allows teleportation between dungeons under Aun's control, and Labyrinth Sync lets him move monsters and facilities between them. Dungeon points are shared across dungeons, and subordinates can use these abilities too. Aun confirms they have many points saved. Though they are currently inaccessible, Elos advises hoarding as many points as possible for now. Aun plans to coordinate with Ars and the Black Forest Core to organize things. Leaving the dungeon in Elos' hands for the moment. Elos asks where Aun will rest, and Aun replies they're warping back to the Black Forest. Kinu, now dressed in the red yukata, thanks Aun, saying they match perfectly. Aun calls Elos over to introduce him to Kinu, who greets him politely. Aun offers to check Kinu's stats, and she agrees calmly, ready for the assessment. Aun studies Kinu's stats carefully, noting her level 30, fire and light affinity, and impressive HP and MP. He marvels at her insane attack magic, strong defense, and healing abilities. The human form she takes is thanks to her humanization skill, which can be toggled on or off, despite her rapid level-up speed seeming too fast. Aun wonders if experience is shared between them but decides not to guess for now. He concludes that Kinu is as cute as she is deadly. He acknowledges how incredibly strong she has become after evolving 3 times today and insists they head back to the Black Forest to rest. Kinu agrees, determined to get even stronger, and Aun encourages her spirit. They prepare to leave. The pair arrive safely via interdungeon teleportation. Without confirming the transfer went smoothly, Ars greets them warmly, recognizing Kinu as a fox-type monster whose human form is granted by her humanized skill. Kinu introduces herself politely to Ars. Ars welcomes Kinu to his home, calling her a charming little thing and identifying himself as the mistress of the domain. He asks Aun to prepare a room for Kinu. Kinu nervously requests to share a room with Aun, who initially protests but then agrees to put 2 beds side by side. They decide to call it a day and talk more in the morning. Kinu admits she's scared to sleep alone, fearing she'll wake up all alone again. Aun awkwardly protests, but the pig plush reminds him that a master's duty is to put subordinates at ease. Reluctantly, Aun agrees to share the same room, and Kinu smiles softly, relieved. They settle into bed together in a cozy garden room, Kinu quietly wishing Aun good night. After a few minutes, she suddenly clings to him, seeking comfort in the dark. Aun lies awake, reflecting on his past. He remembers being born in a land of ice, surrounded by fox monsters just like him, all with snow-white fur and a single tail. But one day, his fur changed to a golden tint and a second tail sprouted, confused and frightened. He woke up different and was rejected by his own kind. They told him he was no longer one of them, even though they had hunted together just the day before. Despite wanting to believe otherwise, he realizes his own family is now trying to kill him. The fox monster runs desperately, overwhelmed by the pack behind him. He admits his weakness and loneliness, longing not just for survival but for friends and a family to belong to. He wonders if his altered appearance condemns him to eternal solitude. Facing a pack of wolves that all look alike, he envies their unity and acceptance. Resigned, he accepts his fate, tired of running and feeling weak with no one by his side. Surrounded and suffocating under the wolf's grip, he struggles fiercely, refusing to give up or die quietly. His determination burns as he vows to fight until the very end, desperate to survive this moment. Suddenly, a voice offers help, revealing a cloaked figure standing among the fallen wolves. The fox monster, surprised yet unafraid, notes the man's incredible strength and rare 2 tails. The stranger mentions having a health potion, and the fox feels a strange calm despite the danger, as the wolves lie dead around them. The fox shivers, startled by the cold water splashing over him. The cloaked figure smiles knowingly. Noting the fox is alone, with a gentle invitation, the man asks if the fox wants to join his crew and beckons him to come along. The fox's thoughts swirl with hope and warmth as he wonders if joining means gaining a family. He feels a bond forming, comforted by the promise of togetherness despite their differences. The man offers to name him Kinu, giving the fox a beautiful new identity. Memories flood Kinu's mind, how much he has evolved and grown stronger through countless hunts. Despite his progress, he laments not having done anything for the man who cares so deeply for him. Tears well as he resolves to become useful to the one who cries out for him. Kinu's yearning intensifies. He wants to look like the man who believes in him. Suddenly, a familiar voice calls his name, confirming his identity. The man stands before Kinu, affirming with warmth that it truly is him. Even if she wakes up tomorrow changed again, she knows Aun will never cast her aside. Today was filled with the happiest moments of her life. He taught her they could be a family regardless of their shapes or races. As long as she is with him, she believes she will have many more happiest moments, wondering if she will ever be his favorite. She concludes that's not what matters. What truly matters is that he is the most important person in her heart. Though she knows Aun will continue to be important to many others, she wants to be there to see it and share his dreams. Determined, she vows to grow stronger by Aun's side. Aun lies awake in bed, gently stroking Kinu's fur as he wonders if she is still sleeping. His calm expression shifts slightly as he watches her peacefully rest. Kinu greets Aun with a warm good morning, apologizing if she disturbed him. He reassures her he woke up only a little while ago. She reflects on convincing herself that recent events weren't just a dream but real. Aun expresses relief and mentions wanting to talk to Ars and Alice. Inviting Kinu to join them, she agrees quietly. The pig and wolf plush companions greet them with a cheerful good morning and ask if they slept well. Aun begins explaining his desire to discuss everything so far and his future plans. He reflects on how meeting Kinu, Ars, and ILS made him realize he is no longer alone. The wolf plush is surprised to learn Aun was originally a human adventurer who absorbed them both. Aun promises to become comrades with Kinu and aims to be the strongest, including Ars and ILS as important comrades. He explains the Adventurers Guild has a system called clans, where a community of trusted comrades can be formed. His dream is to create the strongest, best clan like a family, built on trust and companionship. The pig plush excitedly praises the plan as splendid and intriguing, while the wolf plush eagerly asks what must be done. Aun explains that his dream is also Kinu's dream, and he wants to use the Forêt Noire labyrinth as their clan house, a safe base for their community. He asks if they can make the dungeon impervious to outside entry. The wolf plush confirms dungeons exist all over the world and serve to circulate magical essence. Aun acknowledges it's not impossible, but the wolf plush explains dungeons function to circulate magical essence efficiently. The wolf plush elaborates that the planet circulates magical essence to sustain life, and the living beings are all connected by this system. Magical essence flows out when beings are active or die, and dungeons play a crucial role in circulating this essence efficiently. Aun questions why this is being explained now, and the wolf plush states that without circulating magical essence, they cannot obtain dungeon points. Aun asks if closing the dungeon entrance to absorb magical essence would make the dungeon inoperable. The wolf plush confirms this. Aun then suggests efficiently earning dungeon points at Plein Vert and using them to expand Forêt Noire's facilities through labyrinth synchronization. Kinu praises Aun's insight, while the pig plush admits never having heard of such a thing. When asked if he has an idea in mind, Aun enthusiastically declares they will build a town first using the dungeon's functions. He explains they will expose the first dungeon layer to the plains as a town, using points to build structures like an inn and an item shop. Then, somewhere inside, they will place a magic circle to transfer people to the second layer, which will be the actual dungeon. He adds that this way, adventurers will think the town is just an illusion. Aun explains that if a dungeon and a town coexist, people will naturally gather, and if the dungeon can absorb magical essence from the town, they could earn points indefinitely. The wolf plush excitedly praises the plan, calling it splendid and amazing, while the pig plush agrees they wouldn't need to worry about the core being absorbed or destroyed by others. He points out two problems. No personnel exist on the human side to build a village or town, and they themselves are monsters. He stresses the importance of becoming adventurers and establishing a clan, suggesting that if they can enter the town, they could intentionally leak information. He adds that his human self is likely registered as dead, and with his horns, he might avoid being recognized as human, so he would need to re-register. Suddenly recalling, Aun remembers his grandpa told him about a race called Oni people, horned beings from the country of Wa. He proposes they could say they're from Wa on a warrior's pilgrimage. The pig plush nervously acknowledges having heard of Oni people. Aun notes Oni people possess incredible strength and are very powerful but are few and not well known publicly. Confident this is enough, he suggests they proceed to the town of Recuria to register as adventurers. Kinu asks about herself, and Aun reassures her that as a beast person who can take human form, it shouldn't be a problem. He then tells Ars and ILS to keep earning points as they have been. He orders them to contact him via telepathy if anything happens. They acknowledge and agree to first return to Plein Vert, then head for the town of Recuria. The pig plush and the small fox float nearby as he activates a labyrinth-to-labyrinth transfer. They emerge outside, amazed by the sudden change in scenery. Standing near the cave entrance, he notes how close Plein Vert's entrance and exit are. He instructs Kinu to get used to fighting in human form as they plan to hunt their way to Recuria. She nods, feeling confident she can fight fine. Kinu spots two horned beasts nearby and swiftly raises her hand, unleashing a powerful magical attack that explodes on impact, demonstrating her growing combat prowess. He praises Kinu, amazed by how much her magic has improved since evolving, noting it now operates on a completely different level. As they watch the aftermath, his attention shifts to a distant carriage approaching through the trees. A cart pulled by two horses races forward with urgency, driven by a small beast person with wide eyes and a determined expression. A fox-like figure calls out to Barber, demanding to know what is happening. Two figures on the ground, a man and a woman, turn toward the approaching cart. Surprised, the man asks who the rider is, recognizing the name Aun. The woman introduces herself as Kinu, the fox magical beast who once traveled with Aun, now in human form through a transformation skill. The small beast person marvels at Kinu's cuteness. Aun questions the rider about the rush, and the rider urgently pleads for help, explaining there is a dungeon near Yahello village. The rider reveals that stronger monsters have been emerging from the dungeon, causing a looming stampede that threatens the village. Tears form as the rider fears for their family's safety. Aun promises to help and asks to be guided to Yahello village. The rider, still crying, agrees and insists on handing over their entire fortune in exchange for aid. Kinu stands calmly beside Aun, ready to assist. The cart speeds through the forest as the rider thanks Aun and Kinu profusely. Aun confirms the stampede, asking for the current situation. The rider explains that when they left the village to seek help, the beast people fighters were barely holding out and unlikely to last much longer. The urgency of the situation presses on Aun and Kinu as they prepare to intervene. The village chief had the residents prepare for evacuation, but they likely had nowhere to go. There were also voices insisting they couldn't abandon the village, so the evacuation faced difficulties. Aun and Kinu exchange worried looks as Aun asks what they should do, and Kinu suggests evacuating to Plen Vert. Aun agrees that if he makes adjustments, safety can be guaranteed. He praises Kinu's idea, noting that beast people who can still fight after evacuating should handle the surrounding magical beasts. Kinu looks confused. Having never heard of Plen Vert, Aun entrusts Barber with their secret and asks him to swear not to tell anyone else, which Barber promises. Barber solemnly swears upon his pride as a beast person and merchant to protect the secret of their benefactors, who risk their lives for strangers like them. Aun reveals he is a dungeon master managing a certain dungeon named Plen Vert. Located in the Verdant Plains, he promises that the villagers can evacuate there safely. Aun contemplates the problem. While the village residents evacuate, they must stop the monster invasion. He admits he alone can't do anything and asks for a moment to think of a strategy. Kinu agrees to follow his instructions. Suddenly, Aun receives a call from Ars and ILS, their beast person merchant acquaintances, reporting that on their way to Recuria town, they encountered something important. LS explains that near his hometown, a dungeon is about to cause a stampede. He asks for details about stampedes. The pig plush clarifies that a stampede is a rampage caused by a lack of magical essence within a dungeon. It happens when monsters try to replenish essence by generating en masse and initiating battles unrelated to points. The pig plush asks if defeating the monsters in massive numbers will stop the stampede. He answers that at best, the dungeon's berserk state is only temporary, and monsters will keep spawning until the dungeon core is destroyed. He outlines a strategy. The monster waves come in increasing numbers, first, second, and third waves, so if they annihilate one wave completely, they can buy time before the next arrives. LS commands to quickly build about 10 houses on the first layer of Plen Vert and promises to instruct when to expose it to the Verdant Plains. He tells Kinu he has devised a strategy to evacuate the beast people, warning her that her role will likely be dangerous. Kinu silently agrees, signaling the plan is fine. Barber apologizes for dragging them into this but sincerely thanks them. ILS tells her no apologies are needed and to save thanks for after the mission. They then hurry off together. He shouts with determination that the Yahello village rescue operation begins now, while Kinu and Barber look on with resolve and readiness. ILS spots Yahello village from a distance, confirming the location as the rescue operation's target. He orders Barber to follow the plan they discussed. Entrusting him with a crucial role, Barber agrees without hesitation, and Kinu silently acknowledges the command to come along. As they approach, chaos erupts with monsters attacking the village. The beast people defenders brace themselves, preparing to fight. One commands a powerful water-based attack, wall fire, to counter the oncoming threat. Kinu leaps into action, unleashing a wide-area magic attack to handle the monsters. While the bear warrior and his companions stand ready, ALS calls out, identifying himself and instructing the bear warrior to return to Yahello village to assist with the evacuation. The bear warrior questions ALS's identity, but the focus remains on the mission. ILS explains that wide-area magic is difficult to use near allies, so he leaves the monster fight to Kinu and the others. He emphasizes that securing the villagers' safety is their top priority and entrusts the bear warrior with that responsibility. With a nod, the bear warrior and his companion rush off to protect the villagers, while ILS watches, ready for the next move. ILS grips his spiked club and declares he'll cut loose too. He tells Kinu not to worry about catching him, ordering her to wipe out any monsters he misses. Kinu assures him she won't hit down and will handle it herself. He activates Thunderclap, doubling his strength and agility for 5 minutes, then charges into the fray. The Beast People warriors ready their weapons as ILS strikes down several enemies with powerful blows. As ILS fights, Kinu notices stronger C-rank monsters mixing in with the D-ranks. She questions if the later waves of monsters are tougher, preparing for the escalating threat. The battle continues with Kinu and ILS standing firm amid the chaos. ILS checks on Kinu, who reports about half the monsters remain. Suddenly, ILS senses something evolving and urgently asks if Aun is okay, signaling a new danger emerging. ILS acknowledges Kinu's readiness with a determined "got it." She smiles confidently, telling him to leave it to her. ILS apologizes quietly, then steels himself, counting on her as the evolution process begins uncontrollably. A message appears. Due to special evolution destination cannot be selected. Evolution will begin. He stands firm, surrounded by crackling energy as the transformation takes hold. His eyes sharpen with focus as he utters a single word, status. Kinu calls out to ILS, warning him she's about to give everything she has. He warns her he plans to use a new skill that might catch her in its effect. He orders her to retreat at full speed and take defensive measures, advising her to withdraw via dungeon return if she can't block it. She nods in understanding. Alice charges forward with fierce resolve, shouting that he's going in. He faces a mix of evolved monsters, including B ranks in the rear. The battle intensifies as Alice prepares to unleash his new power against the advancing enemies. Alice grips his weapon tightly, declaring this the final stretch and promising to blow the enemies away. He stands firm as a group of evolved monsters charge at him, ready for battle. Electricity crackles wildly around the thunder drum weapon as Alice channels his power, the transformation named Thunderclap activating. His eyes narrow with fierce determination as he prepares to strike. Launching himself forward, Alice unleashes a powerful attack, sending shockwaves through the battlefield. He notes they are nearing the center, eyes sharp and focused amidst the chaos of flying enemies and explosions. Concentrating, Alice forms multiple lightning orbs in his hands, the lightning orb transformation enhancing his offensive magic with status ailments and increased power. He releases the orbs in a devastating burst, electrifying the area with intense energy. Alice activates his aerial transformation called Sky Dance, a triple jump that can be stopped midair. He pushes himself to his maximum output, launching upward with fierce determination as lightning crackles around him, preparing to strike the enemies below. Shouting the name of his attack, Nerite King, he crashes down with overwhelming force, the ground shattering beneath him as dark energy spreads out from the impact. The destructive power of the attack tears through the battlefield, sending debris flying and cracking the earth violently, obliterating everything in its path. Nearby, two observers watch in awe as the attack's aftermath unfolds. Alice, catching his breath, begins to explain the technique. Nerite King is an extreme lightning attribute attack that reduces his MP to 1 and disables natural MP recovery for a time, revealing the cost of such overwhelming power. Alice explains that once the stampede starts, it won't stop until the core is destroyed, meaning the villagers must accept losing their homes and fields. He asks Barubal if he can persuade the villagers. Alice notes the stampede comes in waves, and if they wipe out the first wave, they'll gain a few days leeway. He instructs Barubal to evacuate the villagers to the area near Prenevelt during that time. Barubal acknowledges the plan. He shifts focus to eliminating the monsters, stating that only he and Kinu will fight. He insists they can't abandon the warriors currently engaged and will retreat only if annihilation seems impossible. Alice stresses the need to persuade the villagers quickly, counting on Barubal to handle it. He affirms his commitment to seeing the plan through. Confident they cleaned up well, he checks on Kinu, who confirms she escaped the effective range and is fine. Alice orders her to head back to Nyahar village while he waits nearby. Kinu acknowledges and sets off immediately. Barubal rushes toward Alice and Kinu, asking if they are all right after the intense battle. Alice confirms all the monsters were annihilated, and Kinu agrees. Barubal reports the village somehow managed to evacuate everyone. Alice asks about Barubal's side, and Barubal reassures them that the evacuation was successful. Alice orders the villagers to depart immediately, stressing they only have a few days. A small figure with curled horns and a staff prays silently. The figure reveals himself as the village chief, thanking them for saving the beast folk. Alice deflects thanks to Barubal, who had desperately tried to save the villagers. Aun appears embarrassed, and the group shifts focus to discussing what comes next. Preparations to receive the beast folk at Prenevelt are complete after informing Alice and exposing the plains. Under Barubal and Murmel's direction, the beast folk begin moving together. Barubal notes that even those who initially refused to evacuate decided to leave after witnessing the Nerite King. Alice, smiling, tells Barubal it might not have been an overreaction. Barubal is then called aside for a private talk. Alice asks Barubal to become their ally and cooperate with future plans. Barubal, surprised, questions if he can really help as he cannot fight. Alice assures him there is a unique role only Barubal can fulfill. Barubal admits he's never managed or run an organization but excels at fundraising as a merchant. He eagerly asks to join as a companion. He proposes a subordination contract to Barubal, explaining it's not binding but enhances their capabilities. Barubal readily agrees, offering anything needed as a necessary ally. Alice thanks him, sealing the contract with a handshake. With Lady Aun and Lady Kinu's help, the villagers successfully evacuated safely to Plenuvert. The village chief credits Barbaru for the effort, insisting Barbaru must serve as the Beastfolk village's representative. Barbaru suddenly realizes and wonders where he has gone. Alice, Aun, Kinu, and Barbaru stand before a massive tree inside the dungeon, amazed by this hidden place. Alice explains this is the core room of the Plenuvert labyrinth, where he and Ars manage overall dungeon operations. Barbaru introduces himself as a traveling merchant from Nyahar village and is pleased to meet them. He begins outlining the plan, stating they will leave the stampede to the adventurers for 2 reasons: to make it easier for humans to understand why the beast folk abandoned Nyahar village and to avoid standing out too much. He warns that if they handle the stampede themselves, humans might misunderstand their intentions. He instructs Barbaru to head to the city of Recuria and inform the Adventurers Guild that a stampede may occur. He also orders Barbaru to report that the beastfolk have evacuated and to include their prediction that the stampede will likely head toward the commercial city of Miralda. Iles emphasizes that both the guild and the country's leadership will act quickly once they realize the nation is at major risk. Ellis asks Lady Aun what she will do, and she replies that she and Lady Kinu will hold the stampede back a little to show the adventurers they are allies. Barbaru eagerly volunteers to help too. Lady Aun agrees to head to Recuria immediately and promises to be careful. Alice reminds her to contact him via telepathy if anything happens. Lady Aun bows respectfully before setting off. 2 days later, at the azure green plains between Nyahar village and Miralda, Alice explains that adventurers from Recuria and Miralda are advancing and will arrive soon. Barbaru followed the plan and reported to the Adventurers Guild that a subjugation force has been organized. The adventurers were gathered under an emergency quest from the nation, totaling over 100 people. Among them is the S-rank party Jinsuna no Suki, Silver Sand Moon. ILS states that their goal is to use the stampede to make the adventurers recognize them and to help Kinu evolve. LS notes that Kinu's level rose significantly from recent monster hunts, so she will likely evolve soon. He instructs to return to Fornoir once the evolution starts. ILS plans to move in a way that keeps the front line steady without standing out too much. He asks if he can start now, and with a confident smile, he prepares to engage. He and Lady Kinu launch a powerful coordinated attack, striking the advancing monsters with fierce determination as the battle begins in earnest. The battle begins before the adventurers arrive, striking the monsters with fierce force. They know if they wait, it will be obvious at a glance that they are allies. The ground trembles as the fight erupts. A warrior with a horned braid demands if they are all adventurers, introducing himself as Scold of Silver Sand Moon. Another warrior rushes forward, declaring they will join the fight. Scold explains they were traveling when monsters suddenly attacked, and the timely intervention saved them. The two warriors coordinate swiftly, dividing the battlefield. One orders, "I'll leave that side to you." As they charge forward, the other readies his sword, cutting down enemies with powerful swings, pushing back the monstrous horde. The battle intensifies as the warrior's blade slices through foes. While reinforcements arrive on horseback, a voice recognizes the newcomers as adventurers from Recuria, and a young leader rallies his troops, shouting that they are joining the fight as well. The battlefield swells with the arrival of more allies. The battle rages fiercely as warriors clash with monstrous foes, weapons striking with thunderous impact. One fighter leaps aside just as a massive beast swings a club. Narrowly avoiding a crushing blow, the warrior counters, summoning a radiant energy in their hands, preparing a powerful attack. A fox-eared girl channels a blazing magical blast, sending a wave of fire surging forward. Nearby, a comrade watches, awestruck by the strength of the attack. The girl acknowledges the need to return to the labyrinth, sensing an evolution about to begin. Her companion agrees, ready to follow her lead. In a tranquil garden, a figure stands solemnly by a small bridge. Suddenly, a large, sleeping fox-like creature stirs, its breath soft and steady. The figure calls out gently, concerned for Lady Kinu, who lies curled up and resting. She begins to awaken, the peaceful scene contrasting the earlier chaos. The figure approaches the enormous fox, commenting on its impressive size. The creature's eyes open slowly. Meeting the figure's gaze, he smiles warmly, remarking on the fox's fluffy charm and asking if Lady Kinu is all right. She responds quietly, the bond between them clear as the moment settles into calm. The fox-eared girl stands confidently, her magic flaring as her status updates appear, revealing her growth into a well-balanced magic user capable of recovering status ailments and detecting danger. Her companion notes that with her, their party becomes much more stable. The man and the fox-eared girl overlook the labyrinth, deciding to leave the stampede to the adventurers while they handle their own tasks. They maintain and expand Plenuvert from the second floor upward. Receiving updates from Barbaru, 3 days later, Barbaru reports that the Silver Sand Moon party destroyed the core, completely stopping the stampede. Barbaru returns to the Fornoir Labyrinth core room. Greeted warmly, the man asks about Recuria, and Barbaru explains that the stampede was stopped by the subjugation force led by Silver Sand Moon. Only the party that defeated the boss and the nation's upper leadership know about the core. The man explains that adventurers who joined the subjugation will receive rewards from the nation based on their contributions. Barbaru happily announces she requested a large-capacity magic bag as a special reward for providing information quickly. The man praises how perfectly the plan went and promises to keep gathering information, counting on Barbaru. The report begins with news that Plenuvert gained a massive amount of dungeon points due to the stampede's aftermath. Using these points, the dungeon was expanded to 8 floors, with low-rank monsters placed up to the 5th floor, allowing even beginners to explore. The deepest levels will require intermediates or higher. The Beast Folk village on the exposed floor in the Azure Green Plains has settled down over the past few days, bringing relief. The boundary with the Azure Green Plains has become indistinguishable, and surrounding monsters are being hunted without issue by warriors. Food supplies are stable. The speaker reveals they asked the Beast Folk to build a shop and an inn, then surprises Barbaru by appointing her as the shopkeeper. For the initial investment, the speaker offers to use savings from their human days, expecting a big profit if challengers increase. A request is made for Barbaru to become the village's representative, supported by both the speaker and the village chief. Barbaru nervously accepts the responsibility. The plan includes building an entrance from the village to the dungeon's 2nd floor within half a month. The speaker instructs Ars to close the entrance to the Fornwar Labyrinth and rebuild it into a clan base, while asking IRS to monitor point accumulation and manage the labyrinth's expansion. The speaker announces that Kinley and they will head to Recuria and instruct the others to register as adventurers. Their first goal is to reach B rank, which will allow them to establish a clan. Kinley acknowledges the plan, and the group affirms their readiness, with the speaker counting on everyone to handle the tasks ahead. Plans and preparations unfold quietly as a treasure chest and empty meeting room hint at new beginnings. Barbaru studies documents intently while others bustle in the background. Outside, 2 figures discuss their destination. Pointing toward the distant mountains, the journey leads them to the bustling city of Recuria, alive with activity and opportunity. Walking through the city streets, the pair attract curious stares from townsfolk, their unusual attire marking them as outsiders. Whispers of beast folk and comments on their distinctive clothes follow them. Their destination is clear: the Recuria Adventurers Guild, a place where their new path begins. Inside the guild, a tense reunion occurs as familiar faces recognize the travelers. Despite a desire to avoid trouble, they are welcomed warmly for saving many during the recent stampede. The guild staff quickly escorts them deeper inside, informing them the guild master awaits their arrival. The travelers enter a room where a confident man introduces himself as Sparuz, the city's guild master. He acknowledges their reputation as the rumored travelers and welcomes them with a knowing smile. The meeting sets the stage for the next chapter of their adventure. Sparuz introduces himself as the guild master of this town, greeting the newcomers with a confident smile. The 2 visitors, Aun and Kinu, stand silently, absorbing the moment as they respond with a quiet, "Nice to meet you." Aun nervously explains they came to register as adventurers. Admitting the unexpected reactions left them confused, Sparuz laughs heartily, recalling his own adventurer days, and mentions hearing about their rampage during the recent stampede. He notes the rumors of their incredible strength and asks if they could demonstrate it. Sparuz explains that while adventurers normally start at F rank, their strength might allow them to skip ranks. Surprised, Aun eagerly agrees to this arrangement. Sparuz gestures for them to follow him, leading the way as the 2 trail behind, their expressions a mix of anticipation and curiosity. They arrive at the underground training ground, where Sparuz has gathered B-rank adventurers from the lobby for sparring. He warns that Kinu's powerful magic could put others in danger, confirming her status as a magic type. The assembled adventurers eye the newcomers, whispering about the rumors as Sparuz encourages them to test their strength in battle. Sparuz instructs the group to fire magic at a reinforced target so he can judge the firepower. Kinley tells Kinu not to use her buff skill and that he'll fight without a weapon. Kinu nods in agreement. The gathered adventurers encourage her to do her best as she prepares to cast Flame Lance. Sparuz remarks on her confidence. Kinu unleashes a powerful blast of fire magic, striking the target with explosive force. The impact shatters the reinforced magical target, sending debris flying. Sparuz and another adventurer react with shock and disbelief at the destruction. The target smokes and cracks, clearly damaged beyond expectation. Kinu calmly holds out her hand, unfazed by the devastation, while the others stare in stunned silence. The crowd gasps, questioning the overwhelming power and noting the target was specially reinforced for magic. One adventurer refuses to believe it, while another is shocked. Kinu smirks confidently, claiming she is stronger than Aun. Kinley steps forward, ready for his turn, asking who his opponent will be. The scarred man introduces the B-rank adventurer known as Ironwall Glazer but admits they are changing the plan. He orders to bring a physical attack target made from or with ogre-class durability and commands to attack it. Kinley steps forward, ready to fight without a buff skill, asking if it's alright to destroy the target. Kinley delivers a powerful punch, shattering the reinforced or target into flying shards with explosive force. The two men watch in stunned disbelief, sweat dripping down their faces, while the fox-eared woman beams brightly, clearly impressed. The shattered target smokes and crumbles, confirming the overwhelming power of Kinley's strike. Kinley asks if the destruction is sufficient, and the scarred man acknowledges her strength, admitting he cannot let her spar with anyone. When asked what rank they will likely become, he explains they will be C-rank adventurers, as the rule only allows skipping up to C-rank from F-rank. He apologizes but says they will probably rise quickly, and tells them they will receive their C-rank adventurer cards at the reception on their way back. The scarred man asks them to come to his room afterward and questions who exactly they are. Kinley and the fox-eared woman exchange a glance, admitting they had been curious about this all along and have already considered their backgrounds. Kinley explains he is a fox beastman and the other is an oni. They reveal they lived in the forest, surviving by defeating monsters, which likely explains their high levels. Since they both became strong fighters, they left the forest and began traveling. The scarred man acknowledges this explains their incredible strength. The man says they don't seem like bad people and expects no problems. Shaking hands with Kinley, they receive their C-rank adventurer cards, marking their official status. Both Kinley and the fox-eared woman smile proudly, holding their new cards. Relieved to be adventurers again, Kinley stretches happily while the fox-eared woman expresses her happiness to be with Aun. Kinley suggests buying a magic bag, and she mentions restocking potions. They set off cheerfully to explore the city together. Kinley and the fox-eared woman browse a shop, Kinley holding up bags and suggesting they check accessories nearby. Both respond hesitantly when a guard approaches, asking if they need something. A heavily armored woman in a maid outfit nervously approaches, clutching her axe and shield, urgently saying she has something important to discuss. The woman stammers, admitting she is a sow and then dramatically kneels, begging Kinley and the fox-eared woman to devour her. Kinley is shocked and confused by her behavior, while the fox-eared woman notes Aun is troubled. The sow quietly agrees to follow them somewhere private to talk calmly. Kinley anxiously asks Kinu if the strange woman is all right. Kinu reassures him, saying the woman's feelings are just too strong and insists she isn't a bad person. Kinley tries to steady himself, and Kinu suggests they calm down and listen as they approach a quiet cafe where the woman waits. The armored woman suddenly bursts in, declaring she has been searching for them. Kinley urges calm and asks what she wants to talk about. The woman dramatically accuses them of wanting to eat her, causing Kinley to clutch his head in pain. The fox-eared woman tries to keep the conversation orderly, asking the woman to speak one thing at a time. The woman nervously admits she is a former orc guard. The woman explains she is an immature orc guard who was called a pig bastard, but was never eaten. Kinley reacts with shock, recognizing the mention of Fornoir. The woman's admission surprises him deeply. The woman reveals her name is Shinku and that she has become an orc queen, using a humanization skill to take her current form. Kinley awkwardly apologizes for calling her pig bastard, and introduces himself and the fox-eared woman properly. Shinku, touched, says she has time and will listen to their story slowly, while the fox-eared woman warns Kinley to be careful. The conversation continues in a quiet cafe as the fox-eared woman listens intently. She acknowledges the hardships Shinku endured to arrive here. Shinku explains that when she was an orc guard, she was small and immature, unworthy of becoming nourishment for the strongest, Master Aun. Shinku passionately declares that she worked hard every day so that Master Aun, whom she deeply respects, would want to eat her. She now believes she has become worthy of being turned into nourishment. The fox-eared woman quietly reflects that Shinku just wants to be needed by Aun. While the man looks on with a mix of concern and understanding, Shinku insists she would never say something presumptuous like being needed, but being eaten by Aun alone would satisfy her. The fox-eared woman suggests making Shinku a companion, praising her hard work for Aun. The man agrees and offers to teach her many things, acknowledging her effort. Shinku is surprised but accepts the offer, bowing deeply. The fox-eared woman and the man ask if Shinku agrees, and she responds with a determined smile, ready to help Aun together. Shinku humbly asks Lady Kinu and Master Aun for their guidance. Expressing gratitude despite her inexperience, she smiles warmly, showing her earnest desire to grow and support them both. An orc guard without a name reveals her desire to be devoured by a certain person she recently met. She calls herself a sow, envying other orcs who became nourishment for that person. Despite being called a pig bastard, she wishes to be deliciously devoured and pleads to stay with him. Rewinding time to just after meeting that person, she experiences a great change. She gains the ability to understand the languages of other monster races. When she tries to leave, other orcs label her a traitor and order her death. She flees as they chase her, clutching her shield tightly. The orc guard fights fiercely, spinning and striking her attackers with powerful blows. Blood splatters as she battles desperately, refusing to fall despite the overwhelming odds. Determined to be devoured by that person, she fights with the mission of becoming strong and wise. She knows she cannot afford mercy and pushes forward relentlessly, surrounded by fallen foes as night falls over the forest. The guardian orc stands firm, clutching her large shield as smoke swirls around her. Her appearance has changed slightly, marked by her bangs growing longer. She mutters sounds like "Gumo?" while scanning her surroundings cautiously. Hidden in the bushes, two men discuss a human woman, describing her as smooth and curvy, making them want to eat her without thinking. One prefers maids, calling them tasty, but the orc realizes that being just strong and wise is not enough. Determined, the orc declares she has found the secret technique to be devoured deliciously by that person. She has studied all night about women liked by men. Viewing adventurers as teachers with resolve, she begins to move forward. The next day, the orc leaves the forest of Everdarness, seeking even greater strength. As she walks, small creatures scatter in fear. Two adventurers spot her and shout a warning to run, vowing to punish her, while she presses onward with her massive shield held ready. The orc notices a halberd lying forgotten on the grass, an adventurer's lost weapon. She grips the shaft firmly and decides to borrow it, setting off with the halberd and her shield in hand. Several days pass as she treks through the wilderness. Humming quietly, she spots a glowing dungeon entrance and recognizes it immediately. Determined, she resolves to challenge the dungeon, eventually reaching the boss room where she somehow manages to claim victory. Despite the win, she acknowledges she still needs more training. She repeats the cycle of entering the dungeon and fighting the boss multiple times, each run making her stronger. Her body heats up with exertion, and she feels her power growing as she defeats the boss more easily. Her appearance shifts once again, now fully transformed into the orc queen form. She pauses to rest at the dungeon entrance, feeling the pleasant wind around her as she contemplates her progress. The orc queen listens intently, deciding to check her status again. She notes that Leklia town is close, just a bit more effort away. Excited by the prospect of hearing more useful stories from adventurers, she peers from behind the trees. Suddenly, two travelers spot her presence, startled by the discovery. Realizing she has been discovered, the orc queen acknowledges her identity as the Crimson Orc Queen. Adventurers begin shouting warnings and flee in panic at the sight of her. Since that moment, many adventurers have started calling her by that fearsome title. The orc queen contemplates the name Shinku, finding it cute and wondering if the person who gave it will like it too. She recalls adventurers using something called status and decides to try copying it herself. Concentrating, she activates the skill, and a status screen appears, revealing her name as Shinku, her race as Orc Queen, and her status as unknown. She realizes this display shows many things about her. Curious about the skill, she wonders what kind it is and decides to try using it. As she activates the skill humanization, her form begins to change, signaling a transformation underway. She steps lightly onto the ground, then turns to gaze at the distant mountains, humming thoughtfully. A playful smile spreads across her lips as she softly utters. Excited, she marvels at her new human form, no ears or tail, and clenches her fist with determination. She exclaims she can now become the legendary Smooth and Curvy, embracing her transformation with joy. Energized, she dashes toward the town, eager to explore and learn more without frightening humans. She resolves to solve the mystery of Curvy. While humming happily, nearby, two adventurers notice her and whisper, recognizing her as a female adventurer and deciding to approach. She runs up to them completely naked, nervously asking to pose a question. The adventurers scream in shock, demanding she put on clothes. Calmly, she explains she wasn't wearing any, and after a moment, she accepts a cloak offered to her, realizing the situation startled them despite her human form. After recounting the terrifying attacks by monsters and adventurers, the female adventurers are reassured by two protectors who promise to escort them safely to town. One of them notes her halberd and shield are left behind in the dungeon, but she vows to retrieve them later. The group sets off together, leaving the campfire behind as they head toward the town. Around a campfire at night, the female adventurer hesitantly asks if they know what smooth and curvy means. The others laugh awkwardly, and when she presses, one answers simply, "You." Shock registers on her face as she realizes the meaning. She reflects quietly, realizing she has obtained smooth and curvy without fully understanding it. The others comment on how interesting she is, noting she says strange things. Arriving at Leklia town, she marvels at the many new sights. As they prepare to leave, she notices something and reaches out, but the others tell her to live strongly and that they will leave now. With determination, She grabs one companion's arm and declares her desire to become like an adventurer. They brought her to the Adventurers Guild, where a woman greets her warmly, announcing she is now an F-rank adventurer. After registering, she immediately retrieves her halberd and shield and dedicates herself to completing quests, eager to prove herself. A certificate announces the character's promotion to C-rank adventurer. She reflects confidently that this level is easy for someone who has obtained smooth and curvy. Thanks to daily training of her humanization skill, she can use it regardless of race, but she still feels something is missing. On the Green Plains, she wonders if a maid might be nearby. Suddenly, a warrior named Smash declares himself the one who will save the world. She promises to share a souvenir story about maids. But when asked to explain the meaning, Smash panics and runs away, begging her not to tell anyone. She admits she wanted to become a maid and is advised to buy a maid outfit to find a good workplace. Grateful, she immediately visits the armor shop and commissions a maid outfit with her quest earnings. As she walks through town in her new attire, townsfolk turn to watch her with surprise and curiosity. Now dressed as a maid, she beams with joy, declaring that the woman who makes one want to eat her is complete. She vows to become a nourishment expert and convey her feelings to that person. Quietly, she decides to leave the town, carrying a record book summarizing her knowledge and experiences so far. She declares her purpose: to become a guidepost for women who have lost their way. Now feeling no regrets, a sudden sweet fragrance catches her attention, causing a moment of surprise. Outside, the group notices her presence, and she calls out with a bright exclamation. She urgently calls out to get their attention as she runs forward, thanking everyone for staying with her story until now. Her expression is a mix of determination and nervousness as she announces she is about to enter her final grand stage. The group looks on, curious and concerned, asking what she means. The character reflects on how long it has been since they last walked alone. Now accustomed to having Kinley by their side, they note Kinley and Shinku have already returned to Fornoir and promise to come back and explain everything. Resolving to look for accessories as planned, they stride forward with purpose. Inside a shop, the character contemplates staying in town more often as an adventurer and the need to conceal their monster status with a status concealment item. They examine the price tags on various accessories, weighing their options quietly before entering the store. Considering whether to use dungeon points for an item or save them for dungeon renovations, the character decides to check the armor shop for accessories. They enter the shop, noting it can't hurt to look around, and spot a selection of items. Excited, they prepare to appraise the accessories. Discovering several concealment items, a ring, necklace, and sunshield necklace. The character happily buys all three for just 1 gold coin. With their purchase complete, they turn their attention to the quest board, planning to clear some quests before submitting the party application once Kinley and the others arrive. The character notices a C-rank quest and focuses on it with determination. A request to explore and investigate the Morphia Forest catches attention. The adventurer notes that most C-rank and above quests are extermination missions, which seems unusual. He decides to ask for more details. A woman explains that recent reports say the ecosystem in Morphia Forest has changed. When questioned if investigation alone is enough, she confirms it is. This is an investigation request issued by the guild. The woman elaborates that Morphia Forest is normally inhabited by C to D-rank monsters, but many adventurers have reported monsters from the Red Canyon appearing there. Because of this, investigation alone is sufficient for the mission. The adventurer contemplates this and is asked if he is Mr. Aun. When asked if killing the monsters is allowed, the woman hesitates but admits it would be difficult for C-rank adventurers to defeat them. The adventurer confirms his identity and receives acceptance of his request. The guild clerk warns him not to push himself too hard and to be careful. He thanks her and steps outside, questioning if that is all. He arrives at the edge of Morphia Forest and looks around, noting the forest's presence with a serious expression. Inside the forest, 2 cloaked figures run frantically, one asking if the other is all right. They are startled and shout to run away as a large scorpion emerges, threatening them. The adventurer watches the scene unfold, alert and ready. A massive scorpion, a rank B monster, appears suddenly in the forest, causing a terrified scream. One of the adventurers orders the others to run ahead while she readies her weapon, shouting the name of her attack, Swift Thunder. The scorpion lunges forward as the 2 fleeing adventurers react in shock. The woman swings her weapon with a fierce battle cry, preparing to strike the monster. She delivers a powerful blow with her spiked weapon, smashing into the scorpion's body and sending it reeling backward. The impact is fierce, and the scorpion staggers from the force. The woman presses her attack relentlessly, her expression intense and focused as she strikes again. The 2 fleeing adventurers watch in alarm, caught in the chaos of the fight as the scorpion struggles to recover. The massive scorpion lies defeated as the warrior remarks it took longer than expected. Two adventurers express shock and gratitude. Amazed he defeated a B-rank monster alone. They explain they came to investigate the forest, which has clearly changed since they last met Shinku, who they recall as an incredibly beautiful woman. The warrior advises them not to worry too much, acknowledging the ecosystem's shift. He asks the two adventurers to return to Leklia and report to the guild while he continues investigating. When asked if he knows Shinku, he confirms her name is Aun. The adventurers wish him safety as he prepares to move on. The warrior decides to run deeper into the forest. He swiftly attacks, striking down a wild animal with precise, powerful blows. Reflecting on the recent chaos, he counts the casualties. 5 griffins, 3 big scorpions, and 3 red grizzlies. In over 10 years as an adventurer, he has never seen anything like this. The forest's ecosystem is clearly collapsing. A dragon soars over the Red Canyon as the question arises whether something is happening there. The warrior lies on the grass, contemplating, deciding he should head back. He reports that monsters from the Red Canyon have entered Morphia Forest, confirming the danger level is quite high. A woman listens, noting they received a similar report earlier. The warrior adds he defeated every monster he encountered, prompting a surprised reaction. The warrior reveals 9 of the monsters were B-rank. He offers to take them out for confirmation, but the woman urgently forbids doing that here. She instructs him to bring the monsters to the dismantling area behind the guild, promising to accompany him. Upon entering the guild, she asks where to place the monsters he wants dismantled. A cat-like creature cheerfully instructs to put the monsters on a table nearby. The warrior admits 6 more monsters remain, asking what to do since they won't all fit. The woman tells him to put the rest in a room at the back. The cat-like creature and the woman watch silently as the warrior moves away. The woman notes all the monsters are from the Red Canyon but admits this isn't the usual amount hunted in half a day, praising the warrior's strength. The cat-like creature explains every monster's face is completely crushed, allowing clean harvesting of other materials, so a bonus will be added to the purchase price. The woman asks if this is enough for the report, and the warrior agrees. She decides to report to the guild master that Morphia Forest is more dangerous than expected. Then, completes the request paperwork. The payment for the materials and the quest reward will be given tomorrow, the woman assures. The man responds with a casual understood, and promises to return the next day. He exits through a door, quietly announcing his arrival at home. Inside, a girl with animal ears notices him and reacts with a soft. 2 women warmly welcome him back, calling him Lord Aun. One announces that starting tomorrow, Shinku will join their group. The man asks if Kinu finished explaining, and she confirms. While Shinku praises the plan as smart, the man then says he has something to give them. He presents accessories meant to conceal their status, urging them to wear them whenever they enter town. Both women admire the pretty items and promise to treasure and always wear them. The man encourages them to take on many quests starting tomorrow and quickly rank up to B rank, adding he has one more thing to mention. Excited, he announces they will register their party the next day and asks for name suggestions. He turns to Kinu for her opinion, who contemplates quietly. She recalls the impressive black lightning magic, suggesting a name meaning lightning striking violently. The name Black Thunderbolt is proposed enthusiastically, met with cheers and excitement. They all agree it's perfect, deciding to register as a party the next day. The man smiles warmly and tells them he's going to sleep first, urging the 2 to rest as well. They exchange goodnight wishes. Lying in bed, the man exhales deeply, relieved. The 2 women chat happily at the table, planning to try something tomorrow, and he reflects quietly that he's glad they seem to have gotten along. Night fades into dawn outside. The man wakes up and notices the woman sleeping beside him. He smiles softly, calling her cute for choosing to sleep next to him. He quietly gets out of bed as someone opens the door. The next morning, the maid greets the man cheerfully with breakfast. He thanks her and asks if Shinku made the meal. Impressed by how delicious it looks, she confirms, explaining that Lord R's built her room and kitchen. He expresses his gratitude, and she encourages him to try the food despite uncertainty about his taste. The maid nervously asks if they can leave all their meals to her from now on. Blushing deeply, she is overwhelmed with emotion and tears up. The door opens as someone enters, and the man cheerfully greets Lady Kinu, praising the amazing feast prepared. Lady Kinu responds with a bright smile and a warm hug, exchanging a heartfelt good morning. The meal laid out looks delicious and inviting. The man greets Barbaru as she arrives, and she returns the greeting warmly. He notes that everyone is present, so they should begin eating. The group sits around the table, ready to share the meal together, the atmosphere filled with camaraderie and anticipation. The group stands before a bulletin board filled with quests, each determined to clear as many as possible and quickly rank up to B rank. The fox-eared woman affirms their plan. The man with horns enthusiastically agrees, and the maid smiles confidently, ready to support their goal. Suddenly, official documents bearing the guild seal scatter through the air, revealing portraits of the group members and the guild master reacting with surprise. The maid's determined expression contrasts with the startled looks of the others as the papers swirl around them. A guild official warmly congratulates the man, the fox-eared woman, and the maid, announcing their official status as B-rank adventurers. The man reflects on his lifelong dream to build the greatest clan, inspired by companions who trust each other like family, while the others listen intently. Joy erupts as the trio celebrates their rise to B-rank, marking a significant milestone toward their shared dream. The man smiles, calling the day worthy of commemoration, while the guild official prompts them to proceed with the clan's formal establishment, which they eagerly agree to. The official clan establishment will take about 10 days after the application. Requiring a review, the man recalls how, back when he was human, he had nearly given up on forming a clan, but now, as a monster, he feels blessed with wonderful companions and the chance to grow stronger together. The maid pledges to be even more helpful as their dream nears reality. He reflects that becoming a monster was a good turning point for him. Meanwhile, a wounded figure staggers into view, collapsing against a wall. The man with horns commands the fox-eared woman to heal the injured with magic while he prepares a potion. She rushes forward, chanting healing magic that envelopes the fallen man. The injured man gasps in gratitude, thanking them for saving him. The man with horns notes that potions only serve as emergency treatment. Suddenly, another man bursts in, demanding to know what happened. The injured man warns that a black dragon is heading toward Leklia. The newcomer explains that judging by its size, the monster is probably an S-rank. The fox-eared woman and the man with horns ask where it is now. The injured man replies it's in Morphia Forest. Despite a suggestion to prioritize the seriously injured at the clinic, the group resolves to take the injured with them immediately. A wounded man urges someone to grab onto his shoulder. A man with a scar and long hair nervously tells Master Aun not to do that, then orders members of Black Thunderbolt to come to his office. The group, including Master Aun, Lady Kinu, and the fox-eared woman, listens as the man explains the ecosystem in Morphia Forest started changing 2 weeks ago. He says they sent the A-rank party Spring Breeze of Illusion to investigate, revealing those 4 from earlier were them. The man continues, explaining there are currently no S-rank parties in town. He asks if the group could somehow delay the dragon's advance, even if they call for help from Miralda, since the dragon might reach the city before reinforcements arrive. He admits it's a designated request and begs them, saying in terms of strength, they are the only ones who can do it. The horned man processes this, confirming the gravity of the request. The man promises a substantial reward for the mission. The horned man's expression darkens as he realizes the first request for Black Thunderbolt is a designated mission involving an S-rank monster. The man eagerly accepts the mission, asking for details, while the others prepare to hear the plan. The man reveals they already sent a request for reinforcements to the Adventurers Guild in Miralda using a magic device. The earliest arrival is half a day, the latest within 1 day. He stresses that evacuating citizens is the top priority, and they don't know why the dragon is heading for the town. He orders them to delay the dragon's advance however they can, but warns against reckless actions due to the danger. The horned man acknowledges the orders with a firm understanding. The leader asks if Kinu and Shinku are both okay with the plan. Kinu nods confidently, and Shinku declares she will follow wherever Lord Aun and Lady Kinu go. The leader apologizes for the heavy request and places his trust in them. Suddenly, the guild master is slapped sharply, prompting a surprised reaction. The guild master is chided to send them off with more spirit. He agrees, then shouts a powerful command to go. Lord Aun confidently tells them to leave the town to him, and both Kinu and Shinku respond with determination. The scene shifts outside the town, showing the surrounding mountains and a tunnel entrance where the group stands. Lord Aun, Kinu, and Shinku look up as a shadow passes overhead. Lord Aun recognizes the approaching threat. A dragon soars through the sky, its presence commanding attention. Lord Aun notes the dragon is moving faster than expected and orders Shinku to catch up while he goes ahead to take it down. He prepares to unleash his special attack, Swift Thunder. Lord Aun braces himself as the dragon approaches rapidly. He focuses intently, preparing his attack while the dragon's fierce gaze locks onto him. With a powerful yell, he leaps forward, swinging his massive spiked weapon toward the beast. The impact lands heavily, sending a shockwave through the air as Lord Aun's strike slashes through the dragon's scales. The force of the blow reverberates, shaking the ground beneath them both. The dragon roars in pain and fury, its wings beating violently as it tries to regain control. Lord Aun steadies himself, eyes sharp and unwavering, ready for the next move in this deadly dance. Executing a swift aerial maneuver called Sky Dance. Lordown spins through the air with his weapon, creating a whirlwind of attacks. From below, Kinu urges him to aim for the dragon's wings with her magic, while Shinku promises to use taunts to distract the beast and protect Kinu. Lordown acknowledges their support, sweat beading on his face as the battle intensifies. Shinku steps forward defiantly, declaring herself the dragon's opponent and daring it to attack from anywhere. Her confident taunt cuts through the tension as the dragon looms overhead, eyes locked on her challenge. The dragon roars fiercely and swoops down with terrifying speed. Shinku braces herself as the massive beast slams into her, but she holds firm, gripping her weapon tightly as the impact shakes the ground. From a distance, Kinu channels her magic, unleashing a powerful beam that strikes the dragon with explosive force. The blast sends debris flying and smoke billowing, but Shinku refuses to back down, shouting that she won't let the dragon win. The dragon retaliates, striking Shinku and sending her flying through the air with a cry of pain. Lordown rushes to her side, concern etched on his face as he checks if she's all right. Kinu quickly casts a healing spell, and Shinku, though shaken, thanks her gratefully, ready to continue the fight. Lordown strikes fiercely at the dragon, his attacks slashing through the air with immense force. The dragon growls in pain, its body trembling. Suddenly, the guild master shouts a warning to Lady Kinu, who turns sharply, sensing danger. The guild master urges Lordown to finish the fight while he can. Praising his strength, both Lordown and Shinku notice the dragon's strange behavior, realizing it's suffering terribly. The dragon's movements seem unnatural, as if it's not acting on its own will. The group worries they can't predict its attacks, but they resolve to keep fighting and try to find the cause. Shinku wonders if they might be able to help it somehow. Lordown instructs Kinu to focus attacks on the dragon's wings while Shinku continues her taunts. He moves closer to assess the dragon's condition. Apologizing for the risk, Lordown summons his power, shouting the names of his thunder-based attacks as he prepares to strike. Lordown's eyes widen sharply as he focuses on the dragon below. Gripping his weapon tightly, he recognizes the dragon's aura and mutters the word, appraisal, realizing the true nature of the threat before him. The massive sword strapped to Lordown's back begins to glow ominously, radiating dark energy. Shock floods his face as he stares at the dragon, whispering in disbelief, "No way! The demon's sword flam?" Lordown's sword glows with dark energy as he recognizes the demon's sword flam embedded in the dragon's back. The dragon growls fiercely, but Lordown grips his weapon tightly, preparing to act. The dragon thrashes violently, shaking the ground with its rage. She calls out to Kinu and Shinku, revealing he might have found the cause of the dragon's erratic behavior. A demon sword stuck in its back, Kinu asks if he found something, and Lordown explains that if they can pull the sword out, they might stop the dragon's rampage, but they must first halt its movement, even if only temporarily. Kinu and Shinku consider the grim option of knocking the dragon out. Lordown recalls picking a large amount of onmin mushrooms before, explaining they act as a sleep aid in small doses but cause sleep abnormalities if overused. He offers to prepare the mushrooms while Kinu and Shinku keep the dragon's attention. The dragon roars as they ready their plan. Lordown finds a large hemp sack and fills it with the onmin mushrooms, determined to force-feed them to the dragon. He packs as many mushrooms as he can, preparing to use them to subdue the beast and stop its rampage. The maid orders both Kinu and Shinku to stop attacking and focus on drawing the dragon's attention to her. She commands them to support her so the dragon targets her alone. Lordown prepares to shove a large amount of onmin mushrooms into the dragon's mouth. When it opens, Kinu and Shinku acknowledge the plan with determination. The three rush toward the dragon, closing in swiftly. Lordown leaps into the air and casts a spell called Sky Dance, launching a thunder orb at the dragon. The orb explodes against the beast, causing it to roar in pain. Seizing the moment, Lordown shouts, "Now!" and lunges at the dragon's open mouth, thrusting the sack of mushrooms inside. The dragon screams in agony as the mushrooms are forced down its throat. Lordown lands with a powerful strike called Sky Dance, hitting the dragon's head. Landing safely, Lordown asks if the plan worked. Confident the dragon swallowed the mushrooms perfectly, the maid offers to handle the dragon's recovery while Lordown vows to paralyze it with Thunder Orb and endure its attacks. She promises to use provocation to distract the dragon. Kinu and Shinku prepare to move forward, ready to execute their roles as Lordown leads the charge. Lordown launches a Thunder Orb at the dragon's open mouth, striking it fiercely. The maid signals with 2 fingers, casting a spell that emits a bright light toward the beast. The dragon staggers, wobbling unsteadily as 10 minutes pass. Lordown observes quietly, confirming the dragon is properly asleep. She tells Kinu and Shinku to stay back as he prepares to pull out the sword embedded in the dragon. He grips the hilt firmly, grimacing as the blade resists, integrated tightly with the dragon's skin. Straining with effort, Lordown summons his strength, invoking the spell Thunder Drum and Lightning. He roars fiercely, channeling power into the sword as he yanks it free with a violent pull. The blade tears through the dragon's flesh with a wet sound. The dragon bellows in pain and rage, blood splattering as Lordown falls back from the force. The beast crashes to the ground. Breathing heavily but still alive, Lordown catches his breath, eyes wide with shock and exhaustion, watching the dragon's reaction. The character's magical power is rapidly draining, panic rising as they realize the danger. They clutch the sword tightly, alarmed by the sinister energy emanating from it. The sword, dark and ominous, pulses with a malevolent aura, confused and desperate. They question what this demon sword truly is. With a forceful motion, the sword is slammed into the ground, cracking the earth beneath it. Turning back to their companions, the character admits surprise at what just occurred. The sword had nearly overtaken their consciousness, revealing its dangerous nature. The maid and the fox-eared companion exchange concerned looks. Realizing the demon sword was the root cause of the dragon's violent rampage, the maid wonders aloud what their next move should be. The group resolves to destroy the demon sword using a powerful weapon. The character presents a massive iron club, explaining it has a weapon destruction effect specifically effective against such threats. With a fierce battle cry, they charge forward, ready to strike. The character swings the iron club down with tremendous force, smashing the demon sword embedded in the ground. The impact sends shards flying and dust billowing, signaling the beginning of the sword's destruction. The demon sword is finally pulled from the ground with a relieved sigh. The group watches as the sword is lifted, the earth still cracked beneath it. The main character suggests they return to report to Sparzus, while the dragon lets out a powerful roar nearby. Suddenly, a burst of energy erupts around a man lying on the grass, who looks shocked as the energy swirls around him. The man struggles to comprehend his surroundings, his vision swirling. The fox-eared companion quickly commands Kinley to heal him, and the healing magic begins to take effect as he regains consciousness. The man tries to understand where he is, while the group watches anxiously. The man, now alert but tense, glares and demands to know who they are. The main character questions if he is truly the Black Dragon. The man sneers, challenging their assumption and mocking the use of honorifics toward him, before launching a sudden, violent attack. The maid's expression darkens as she snarls at the man, calling him a little brat. A figure wielding a large wooden shield threatens to crush him immediately. The maid quickly apologizes, shocked by her own harsh tone. While another warns that Shinka's voice has changed, the man groans in pain, demanding to know who they are. The fox-eared companion pleads for Shinku to stop, reminding her that the man's life was saved by Lordown and that her words are rude. Shinku reluctantly calms down as the others apologize repeatedly. Minutes later, the man, now kneeling and calmer, introduces himself as Drake and expresses deep regret for his earlier rudeness, unaware that they had saved him. The maid cheerfully asks Lordown and Kinley if she can take responsibility for Drake, promising to raise him into a fine servant. She insists they need not worry or go far. The man looks uneasy as the maid says all she needs is to make him understand how wonderful they are, assuring he will naturally become their servant. The man is asked why he was taken over by the demon sword, but he admits he barely remembers. The maid's expression hardens as the man struggles to recall details, vaguely remembering someone stabbing him in the back while he slept. The sharp-eyed companion advises the others to be gentle with him. Noting his difficulty speaking, the maid asks if it's all right for him to speak normally now, and the man hesitantly agrees if Lordown approves. He struggles to recall clearly but remembers a man with red hair, which the others identify as probably Marta's. He explains he is from the dragonfolk village beyond the Red Ravine, born and raised there. His parents were the village chiefs, but he lost to his older brother in a match to decide the next chief. Frustrated, he went on a rampage before collapsing from exhaustion. He admits he was stabbed from behind, and the others suggest he brought it on himself. He denies it, claiming the opponent used dirty tricks and must have poisoned his food before the match, which caused him to suddenly lose his power. The others express uncertainty about the details and ask what he wants to do now. He declares he wants to become stronger and refuses to be forced to join them, but if they let him go, he will leave. He confesses he no longer cares about the village and just wants to never lose again. The others respond that their goals align. The guild master smiles, saying getting stronger depends on his own effort but is more fun together than alone. The man hesitantly asks if they will really let him join. They assure him they don't mind at all, but warn he must enter a subordination contract with the maid. She adds that if he changes his mind, he can cancel it, so he shouldn't worry. He admits that while fighting them, He was somewhat conscious and frustrated by being defeated so quickly, but he admired how much they trusted each other. He vaguely recalls the moments of battle. Then, with fierce determination, he declares he wants to be their big brother's companion. The maid, with a slightly nervous smile, accepts the idea of big brothers and agrees to the contract. The guild master confirms the contract is sealed. The group warmly welcomes him, expressing eagerness to work together. The maid promises rigorous training. Explaining this is his unique way of speaking, he beams with joy, excited to join as a big brother. The group agrees to first check Drake's status, and the man with the black and white streaked hair eagerly announces his status. Sparzus asks if it looks like this, and the maid confirms. Drake responds with a casual thanks, drawing their attention. Suddenly, riders rush in, urgently asking if Lordown is okay and where the dragon went. The group halts their horses as the riders call out to Sparzus and mention the fantasy spring breeze. Sparzus smiles wryly and begins to explain that a lot happened. But to make a long story short, he trails off while his horse chews quietly. Drake looks tense. Realizing the dragon is a dragonfolk boy who was driven berserk by the demon sword flam, he apologizes for his useless rampage and for injuring his companions. The guild master and another man reassure him that no one died and that the seriously injured Grey Eyes has already recovered. They emphasize that Drake was a victim of the demon sword's influence as well. The group agrees to consider the matter closed since Drake has apologized sincerely and promises to get stronger and repay their kindness. Sparzus notes that things have settled down peacefully, and he looks forward to that. He then reveals the demon's sword flam, explaining that according to Drake, he was stabbed by a red-haired man while sleeping, asking if that rings any bells. Sparzus asks if he can keep the demon sword to report it to the royal capital, but the guild master says it's hard to say just yet. The guild master winks and promises to report Drake as a victim. A surprised companion confirms Drake is Sparzus's companion. The guild master assures them not to worry and says they'll head back to town ahead, inviting them to visit the guild later to discuss the reward. Sparzus waves thanks as they ride off toward the distant town. He decides to hunt a bit more before returning. Mentioning he's close to evolving, the fox-eared girl offers to come along, and the woman in armor says she and Shinku will return to Forest Noir first. The maid promises to explain many things to Drake and urges him to go easy on him. Sparzus encourages Drake to do his best, and Shinku cheers him on as they set off. He and the fox-eared girl agree to move out. They enter Morphia Forest, determined to level up quickly. Sparzus launches into action. Attacking fiercely, a young woman uses magic, sending a fiery blast toward a wild boar. The forest echoes with the sounds of their battle. He strikes with a powerful swing, the impact explosive. He catches his breath, sensing others approaching. A grin spreads across his face as he notes their arrival, ready for whatever comes next. Sparzus gasps as he calls out, "Titan," eyes wide with shock. His status screen flashes before him, revealing his level and skills, confirming his evolution. He marvels that compared to an S-rank adventurer, his power feels comparable. The fox-eared girl watches him, equally amazed. Emerging from the city gate, Sparzus suggests returning to Licuria now that he has evolved. Townsfolk notice them and whisper excitedly. A crowd gathers, recognizing Sparzus as the Black Thunderbolt. People thank him for saving the city, while the fox-eared girl nervously urges him to hurry. The crowd swells around Sparzus and the fox-eared girl, praising the Black Thunderbolt for defeating the dragon. Sparzus senses the curious stares have turned into respect. He wonders if this means they have been recognized, but tries to avoid the crowd pressing in on them. Inside a room, the guild master admits the process took longer than expected because someone else took credit for their achievement. He jokes that he had to do at least this much if Drake is joining the party. Sparzus apologizes for the scary ordeal. The guild master reports the incident to the royal capitals and mentions the clan setup and reward will take about a week, promising to return then. The guild master confirms they are now in Plenivelt, the new beast folk village at the center of the blue-green plains. A beast folk representative named Balbal is mentioned as the contact if needed. The guild master promises to send a fast horse when the time comes and casually mentions Plenivelt. Sparzus asks if there is something else, but the guild master waves him off, saying goodbye. The guild master informs Sparzus that Count Sturdless, the lord of Licuria, wants to meet them all. Sparzus hesitates, admitting he's not great with nobles, but agrees. He is reassured that the count is a noble but a good person who just wants to thank them. Outside, a crowd cheers and calls for autographs, welcoming Aun and Kinu again. The crowd surrounds Sparzus and the others, excitedly praising them as heroes. An hour later, they arrive at the count's mansion, the largest building in the city center. The butler opens the door, inviting Aun and Kinu inside, saying they have been waiting for them. Inside, the count introduces himself as Urban Sturdless, Lord of Licuria, and acknowledges Aun and Kinnu as the Black Thunderbolt. He thanks them for risking their lives to resolve the dragon incident, explaining it was a direct request from the guild master. The Count expresses his wish to foster good relations with promising adventurers and entrusts Licuria's future to them. As they prepare to leave, a servant bids them to take care on their way back. Grey Eyes and Shinku sit quietly at a table when they suddenly hear a cheerful greeting announcing their return. Aun, Kinnu, and Shinku warmly welcome them back, waving excitedly. From above, Drake asks if they've finished explaining things to him, and Grey Eyes confirms he has conveyed everything, expressing newfound respect for the older brothers. Aun states he needs to speak with Ars and the others about something, prompting Kinnu to ask what the rest will do. Drake declares his intention to register as an adventurer in Licuria and take on quests to make amends for the trouble he caused. Shinku insists on accompanying Aun, and Kinnu decides to join Drake. They agree to keep in touch via telepathy during their week of free action. Ars and IRS, summoned by telepathy, join the meeting. The five discuss the management of the dungeon, with Aun revealing plans to announce the Plenivelt dungeon sooner rather than later. When asked about the timing, Aun says it will be tomorrow and that he has already informed Sparzus about the beastfolk village of Plenivelt. He wants to stage the dungeon as a major topic. Aun outlines the plan. The dungeon entrance will appear late tonight, and early tomorrow morning, Balbal and he will explain the situation to the village residents to prevent panic. Simultaneously, they will report the dungeon's discovery to the Licuria Adventurers Guild. Since the dungeon near Yahello village disappeared, the timing will make it seem like a new dungeon has appeared. Everyone agrees this is a good idea and praises Aun's leadership. The excitement builds as the plan to attract adventurers unfolds. Rare blue-rank treasure chests will be placed in the shallow dungeon layers to draw them in. An adventurers guild branch will be established in Plenivelt, followed by inns and shops. More adventurers mean more dungeon points, but the goal isn't to conquer the dungeon. Instead, once dungeon points start accumulating, the number of floors and difficulty will increase, with the flow managed by Ars and another. The team rallies with determination, assigning Kinnu and Ars to maintain the Foray Noir clan house. Spirits are high as they prepare for the busy days ahead, with everyone counting on each other. The scene closes on a peaceful mountain view, signaling the start of their efforts. As preparations continue quietly, the commemorative dungeon liberation is performed under the moonlight. The scene shifts to the next morning, showing the village bathed in sunlight, ready for what comes next. In the Beastfolk village, tension rises as the dungeon entrance appears. Villagers worry about having to evacuate again. Feeling their luck has run out, panic spreads, but a calm voice urges everyone to stay composed, observing from a distance. One notes that Balbal is having a hard time managing the situation despite finally securing a safe village. A dungeon has appeared right in the middle of the village, causing a commotion among the beastfolk. They plead urgently with Aun to destroy the dungeon immediately, but Aun raises his voice to silence them. He insists that the dungeon's appearance is actually fortunate, shocking the crowd who struggle to understand his words. Aun explains that in neighboring countries, even with giant dungeons in city centers, some cities thrive as the most prosperous in their lands. He says that regularly culling dungeon monsters prevents stampedes, and they plan to negotiate with the Adventurers Guild to establish a branch here. He urges everyone to believe the village is safe. Continuing, Aun says the dungeon's presence will make it easier for people to gather, allowing businesses to start and the village to expand. He envisions the village eventually growing into a livable, enjoyable town. However, he acknowledges that beastfolk are currently unwelcome in cities, but if this village grows large, it will prove beastfolk can build towns, making the world a better place. The beastfolk become excited, imagining the possibilities. One wants to run a tavern, another a clothing store, and another dreams of getting rich. Aun enthusiastically encourages them, rallying everyone to build a beastfolk town together with hope and determination. The beastfolk excitedly suggest building a park, a stylish cafe, and even a bookstore, dreaming of new additions to their village. Meanwhile, Lord Aun calls out to Shink and Drake, confirming they hear him loud and clear. He instructs them to report to the Adventurers Guild that a dungeon has appeared, and Shink promises to pass along the message. Drake proudly announces he registered as an adventurer and reached C rank, eager to repay his debt. Lord Aun tells them to keep taking quests until he and Kinnu return after a few days to reclear the dungeon. Reflecting, Aun hopes this will attract more people to the Plenivelt dungeon. 5 days later, the village bustles with activity around the dungeon entrance. Aun notes more adventurers have come than expected, calling it a successful day. The presence of a blue rare item brought back by the first party has made a big impact. The A-rank group, Spring Breeze of Illusion, has progressed the furthest, breaking through the Red Ogre on the 10th floor and returning with a blue rare bow from a treasure chest. The small Beastfolk Guildmaster excitedly explains that about 5 parties, including E and D rank adventurers, are constantly exploring the upper floors safely by forming parties. He reports that, as of yesterday, he has built the dungeon up to the 13th floor, and so far no one has broken through. He plans to add more floors and summon stronger bosses. The Beastfolk Guild Master mentions they received a letter from Mr. Spars by express courier that morning. Aun decides to head to Reclear the dungeon with Kinu for a while, preparing for the next phase. An official arrives early to deliver the reward and discuss the Plenivelt dungeon. He announces that Aun, Kinu, and Shink have been promoted directly to S-rank adventurers, making their group, Black Thunderclap, an automatic S-rank party. The city had seen the lack of an S-rank party as a problem, so they fast-tracked the group. Aun reacts with surprise, noting it's only been a month since they registered, while the official admits this is unprecedented. The conversation shifts to Drake, who wonders about his status. The official explains that since Drake is treated as a victim, he faces no punishment and can remain under Black Thunderclap's supervision. Drake gratefully bows. The official then informs them their clan application has been approved and asks if they've decided on a clan name. Aun begins to answer. Aun proudly declares their clan name as Star Conquerors. They explain their goal is to become the strongest in the world, a vision they all created together. Though ambitious, the official remarks they look capable of achieving it. The official shares good news for their ambition. The upcoming inter-clan martial arts tournament, known as the Ranking War, will be held in 2 months in the royal capital. Clans in their second year or later can participate, but they've been granted special permission to enter early. The tournament ranks clans across the Kingdom of Alto. The official admits it won't be easy to win but looks forward to seeing how far they go, asking if they will enter. The group bursts with confidence, declaring their intent to win the Ranking War if they enter. The official grins, revealing he used all his connections, including Count Stedlius, to secure one more reward for them. Urban Sturdius reacts with surprise, asking if there's more. The official presents a Tachi sword, stunning Urban Sturdius. He questions if he can really have it, while the official admits he considered selling it but decided giving it to him was the right choice. Urban Sturdius uses his appraisal eye on the sword, revealing it as a rare red-white crane blade with 20 attack power, crafted by the renowned second-generation Kunamitsu from the land of Wa. The official explains it's classified as a demonic blade and not many use Tachi, but judging by his outfit, he might handle it. The official admits he only touched one briefly as a child. Overwhelmed with gratitude, Urban Sturdius vows to master the sword. The official notes this is the first time he's seen such a childish side of him. Urban asks about the Plenivelt dungeon, and the official encourages him to keep taking care of Reclear from here on. The group enthusiastically agrees. The official reveals a confidential request, explaining that while dungeons can be destroyed, he's only told A-rank parties and above. He warns that the S-rank party Silver Sand Wind from Miralda caused a dungeon collapse by destroying the core during a recent stampede. He stresses that for Plenivelt, even clearing the dungeon shouldn't involve destroying the core. Urban Sturdius listens as the official emphasizes the importance of preserving the dungeon's core. The official notes that if managed properly, a dungeon can generate huge profits, pointing out that 4 parties have already obtained blue rarity equipment in just 1 week. A map illustrates how adventurers from various towns gather at Reclear to conquer the dungeon, helping nearby towns prosper. The official explains that the Azure Green Plains fall under Reclear's jurisdiction and that the Adventurers Guild's Plenivelt branch will be directly managed by Reclear. He adds that from now on, not just Reclear but the Beastman village will rely on the dungeon's development. Urban Sturdius and his companions vow to take every precaution to ensure the residents' safety. The official urges them to establish the branch quickly, and Urban nervously agrees, promising to handle it immediately. Urban outlines their plan to hunt in Morphia Forest first, then return to Plensveld. He wants to test the new blade and complete as many quests as possible. He asks Shink and Drake what they intend to do. The woman offers to accompany Drake, who admits it wouldn't look good if he were the only C-rank adventurer. She agrees to supervise him. They set off together, encouraged to keep taking quests. At Dragonkin Village, Drake reflects on not having repaid Reclear for the trouble he caused. He struggles, clearly exhausted, but refuses to give up. A dragon named Fafnir declares victory over him, but Drake insists he's not done yet, determined to keep fighting despite the setback. The young Dragonkin pleads with his father, desperate to fight again despite his exhaustion. His father reminds him there are no rematches to decide the village chief and scolds him for immaturity. The boy admits he never wanted to become chief but couldn't accept losing without giving his all. The dragon urges him to protect the village with strength, but the boy's resolve remains unbroken. He shouts that he can still fight one more time, yearning for his father's acknowledgement. The crowd watches silently as his father orders him to rest. The boy struggles against restraint, insisting he can still fight, driven by a need to prove to his father, brother, and others that he is stronger. Locked away, the boy contemplates his disgrace for disrespecting the sacred match and fears for his life. His father tells him to stay calm and cool his head. When his father leaves, the boy calls out to him, begging to understand why he must leave the village. Realizing this is parental mercy, he clenches his fist in frustration and sorrow. Alone, the boy transforms into a dragon and flies off, driven by anger at himself. He is rampaged through the Red Valley in dragon form for days, feeling like he would break if he didn't vent his emotions somehow. A dragon senses a presence and notes the perfect timing as a red-haired man approaches. The dragon screams in pain, feeling its back burning, but questions who this man is. It realizes it does not have enough blood. Suddenly, a wicked thought invades the dragon's mind, urging it to drink blood, despite desperate resistance. It gradually loses control of its body. The dragon flies toward a big city, laughing wildly. The dragon acknowledges the danger of its bloodlust, fearing it will wipe out the city. Though it doesn't want to, it can no longer resist. Fear and pain overwhelm its consciousness as it pleads for someone to stop it. The dragon crashes painfully to the ground, wondering if someone stopped it. Observers note the perfect coordination of the attackers and question the deep trust between them, while the dragon laments its lack of an opening to counterattack. The group launches a coordinated assault on the dragon, bombarding it with a barrage of attacks. The dragon roars fiercely, its body trembling as it struggles to maintain control. A dark thought creeps in, and it admits to feeling jealousy. The black-haired man slowly regains consciousness, greeted by the others who ask if he is really the black dragon and if he is awake. He reflects on his rampage and acknowledges that they were the ones who stopped him. He explains he signed a subordinate contract with Big Brother and has heard everything that happened from Big Sis Shink. Memories flood back of the difficult journey Big Brother and the others endured to reach their current place. He recognizes Big Sis Kinu's kindness and Big Brother's strength. Realizing Shink is not a scary person, he admits his old pride from the Dragon Village was trivial and resolves to live for the sake of these people from now on. The maid calls Drake to move on, and he declares his pride now lies with his comrades. With a determined smile, he vows to grow stronger for his friends, who affirm their support as they prepare to continue forward together. The massive insect-like creature is struck with a powerful blow, its body cracking under the impact. Nearby, a small group watches in awe, one exclaiming softly, impressed by the incredible blade wielded by their companion. The blonde warrior proudly holds up his new weapon. Excited about the amazing power it grants him, he reveals their next goal: the ranking war in 2 months, and until then, they will keep taking quests and upgrading the dungeon so everyone can level up as much as possible. A month and a half later, the village has grown significantly, the guild is established, the number of people has increased, and more shops have opened. Even human residents have started moving in, signaling smooth development and progress. The blonde warrior happily reports that the dungeon has expanded to 25 floors, with the addition of an S-rank boss, the Hydra, making it much tougher. Adventurers appreciate the teleportation circles placed before dangerous rooms, making retreats safer. He asks how things are going on the sides of Kinu, Shink, and Drake, while others discuss their recent dungeon experiences and progress. The group acknowledges their hard work, with one noting everyone's progress. The black-haired man proudly announces he reached A rank, while another excitedly confirms they've all been grinding quests together. They agree to check their combat strength, responding with determination and readiness. The black-haired man boasts about training solo to level 49, mastering aerial combat and humanoid fighting form, though he has no new skills. The woman reveals she reached level 50, evolved into Hanya Princess, and now takes the front line with new Earth-based offensive and defensive magic skills. The fox-eared woman also reached level 50 and evolved into Golden Fox, gaining stronger magic and new fire-based melee and range skills. The horned man admits he only gained 1 level while figuring out how to use his Tachi, prompting a small fox spirit to ask about him. The black-haired man reflects on how Boss Own has been busy managing the village and dungeon, so it can't be helped. They prepare to depart for the royal capital tomorrow, knowing they won't return for over a month. They decide to have dinner together tonight, marking the start of this new chapter. The group is told to leave things in capable hands while they are away and to focus on doing their best. The rules for the upcoming ranking war remain unannounced, so their main task is preparing equipment in Miralda. They are offered something special for the 4 of them, starting with gear for Drake and Shink to try on immediately. Drake and Shink model new outfits. Drake wears an underworld garb inspired by the Shinigami, while Shink dons a dragon elegance kimono set modeled after the legendary dragon of Wa. These matching Wa gear outfits are designed with mobility and defense in mind, just like what Aun and Kinu wear. The group is excited about wearing matching outfits to stand out, Drake expresses happiness and admiration for the gift. Attention then turns to Kinu, who is told she will receive a pair of dual blades, easy to use and high in attack power, since she recently changed her fighting style and previously had no weapon. Kinu gratefully accepts the twin blades Mizuchi, which are extremely lightweight and specialized for rapid combo attacks, with encouragement to be creative in their use. Lastly, Aun is presented with a ring, the hardest choice to decide, and is advised to appraise it using his appraisal eye. The anti-magic ring is revealed, capable of nullifying sleep, poison, paralysis, and confusion from external sources. The recipient beams with gratitude, promising to treasure it. The group agrees to rest well before their departure tomorrow, preparing for the journey ahead. The team sets out at dawn, encouraged to win it all. They plan to reach Miralda by early afternoon and stay there for several days to prepare their equipment. Their route includes camping along the way before heading to the royal capital Ulrain in time for the tournament. The group acknowledges the plan with determination as they continue their journey. The commercial city Miralda comes into view, bustling with many people. The group prepares to enter, showing their identification as they join the line, ready for what lies ahead. The group receives their identification passes with a polite invitation to proceed as S-rank adventurers. They ask for directions to the inns, learning about a cluster of taverns and inns on the city's west side. The recommendation is the Dancing Jester Inn, praised for its great food and cleanliness, prompting a grateful thanks. Arriving at the Dancing Jester Inn, they are informed there are only 2 rooms available. They agree to split by gender and include dinner. While the innkeeper boasts their meal's fame in Miralda, the group expresses their gratitude and prepares to settle in. Inside the inn, the women happily share a room, excited to chat. Meanwhile, 2 men sit together, beginning a serious conversation. One admits reaching level 50 but feels his stats haven't grown as expected, and that he doesn't evolve as a dragonkin. He confesses uncertainty about how to grow stronger from here. The other listens thoughtfully as the first asks for advice. He notes the focus on aerial combat and acknowledges the other's struggle to find a fighting style. He points out that Kinu's magic is already overwhelmingly strong, and that moving to the front might interfere with Shink. The first admits feeling unsure of his role, wondering if he's even needed in the party, reflecting deeply on party balance. The conversation turns serious as one explains to Drake that he is a pure attacker type. He reassures him that Shink can draw enemy aggro with her taunts, so Drake doesn't need to hold back. His strong magic and durability help stabilize the whole party. Against strong enemies, sustained damage output is crucial, allowing Drake to keep attacking without worrying about taking hits. Noting his durability surpasses even the speakers, Drake reflects, admitting he never thought about lacking damage. Before, the other points out that since the 3 work so well together, it shortens battles and prevents enemies from counterattacking, reducing the burden on Kinu and Shink. Drake listens intently as the advice sinks in. The suggestion comes to Drake to try wielding the Red Ogre's Kanabo. Surprised, he notes it's the weapon he always used. The other encourages him, confident Drake will handle it better than himself. Drake gratefully accepts the weapon, feeling much clearer now and determined to master it too. His smile grows as he grips the massive spiked club, ready to embrace this new strength. Suddenly, a cheerful call announces that dinner is ready. 2 women invite Aun and Drake to join them at the tavern on the first floor. The men respond eagerly, agreeing to come right away. The warm atmosphere of the inn's dining area welcomes them as they prepare to enjoy their meal together. Plates of food are laid out, and the group praises the delicious meal, just as the gate guard had said. One expresses curiosity about the recipe, while another marvels at how amazing it is. The conversation shifts as a man sitting nearby mentions that the whole town is buzzing with rumors about something happening tomorrow, though no one has figured out who is behind it yet. The group exchanges surprised looks, intrigued by the news. One of the men asks Big Sis Kinu and Big Sis Shink if they've heard any rumors in town. They both deny it, with one admitting he's not good at talking to strangers and suggesting it's better to ask directly in situations like this. The man offers to go ask. Despite the likely cost of a drink, after some hesitation, the others agree and he confidently heads off to check. The man laughs warmly with some locals, showing he's well-liked. Big Sis Shink remarks on how impressive those guys are, recalling how the man got along well with other adventurers back in Leklia. Suddenly, the man announces he's found out that someone has been raiding slave trader hideouts and freeing slaves for about a week now. The conversation turns serious as they learn the slave traders attacked were all knocked unconscious, but no one has ever seen the attackers. Big Sis Shink reflects that slave traders exist in Miralda too and wonders how skilled the attackers must be to remain unseen. They discuss a rumor that there are 3 slave traders in the city, and the one who hasn't been hit yet might be targeted tomorrow night. However, only demi-humans and beast folk have been kidnapped, and they're being treated like heroes, not freeing criminal slaves. Big Sis Shink quietly calls this mysterious figure a hero who attacks slave traders. The scene shifts to a figure standing silently on a rooftop under a full moon, pondering what kind of person this hero might be. The final panel lingers on the figure's intense eyes, leaving their identity and intentions unknown. The group shifts their discussion to the city's slave trade, noting that in Miralda, buying and selling slaves is only legal for criminals. However, since demihumans and beastmen have been kidnapped, this means illegal slave traders are operating, likely protected by bribes paid to nobles. The reason this illegal trade is silently tolerated is because of these corrupt nobles and the slave traders who enslave innocent people. A character's expression darkens as they admit this corruption makes them sick. One of the group, with a determined expression, says that despite the city's silence, someone stands alone against this injustice, igniting a fire in their chest. They want to help that person and the slaves. The others respond with respect and readiness to follow orders, acknowledging the leader's resolve and compassion for those in trouble. They quickly move to plan their next steps, agreeing to gather information that night. One suggests meeting the liberator, while another warns about the slave traders possibly catching wind of their actions. Each member volunteers to search different leads: the freed slave's location, the liberator from the sky, and the slave traders to confirm the illegal business. They prepare to act with caution and coordination. The team sets their plan in motion as one takes flight over the city. The others look on with concern and determination. A hooded figure exchanges a small object with a man in the street, hinting at secretive dealings. The final scene shows the hooded figure watching from the shadows near a grand building, ready to move forward with the unfolding plan. A man with a broad smile welcomes a cloaked figure entering a grand building, asking what kind of slave they seek today. The visitor, cautious, says it's their first time in town and they aren't interested in criminal slaves. But they do have money. The man's grin widens with interest. The man offers a good deal, suggesting an elf as a possibility. He quickly moves to unlock a door, humming cheerfully, and leads the visitor down a dark stairway. He hints at having non-criminal slaves kept in a separate room, speaking in a lowered voice. The visitor follows as the man opens a cell containing several captives, including two distinct figures. One of the captives struggles, shouting that they refuse to become a slave, drawing the man's surprised attention. The visitor notes the presence of two doors nearby. The man and visitor notice a disheveled elf being dragged in by two rough-looking captors. The man comments on her beauty and recent arrival. The visitor asks to speak with her, and the man agrees, while the elf glares from behind the bars, her expression fierce despite her tattered state. The hooded figure inside the cell is asked for their name but refuses, claiming it's an undercover investigation and they don't want to tell someone like the visitor. They admit to liking the insolence but warn this is going too far. The visitor insists the strong attitude is good and the most reliable way to find freed slaves, promising immediate escape if danger arises. The shopkeeper overhears and calls out, disgusted, while the hooded figure asks the price for the elf captive. The man behind the counter offers the elf for 90 gold coins. Noting she hasn't been trained yet, the hooded figure counters with 80, and they settle at 85 including the slave contract as a service. The man warns to treat her well or face his wrath if she gets hurt. The hooded figure agrees, but says they'll return tomorrow night to pay. The hooded figure leaves the shop, confirming the illegal slave trade is real. They think Shink will be fine guarding the captive but resolve to lecture her to increase her value. The figure walks through the town. While two others report confirming the illegal operation, the hooded figure calls out to Kinu and Drake, asking how things are going on their end. Kinu and Drake report no suspicious individuals on the west side or from the sky. The hooded figure wonders where Shink is and tells them to head back to the room for now, promising to explain later. Inside a room, the hooded figure faces the others, who react with surprise and concern. A man notes that Sister Shink really went all out and that the captive will get scolded when she returns. A small fox-eared girl puffs her cheeks in frustration but acknowledges that thanks to Shink, tomorrow will be easier to act. The man plans to organize more information with Shink via telepathy and wants to talk to her too. The group prepares for tomorrow as one decides to keep patrolling a bit more, while the others agree to get ready. The next day, a cloaked figure sneaks near a grand estate guarded by armored men. The figure reports to their boss about spotting a suspicious person completely hiding their presence, lurking just 2 alleys ahead. The boss orders Drake to keep an eye on the suspicious individuals. Acknowledging that things are about to move, Drake confirms and prepares to watch closely. The cloaked figure notes that Shink reported the estate's security has been reinforced. Now more than twice as many guards are present compared to yesterday. The figure decides to investigate alone but instructs the others to keep watching. The cloaked figure launches a sudden attack, shouting swift thunder, unleashing a powerful lightning strike toward the target. The attack explodes near a hooded person, who reacts with surprise as the lightning crackles around them. A cloaked figure suddenly lunges forward, stabbing at a hooded man who narrowly dodges the attack. The attacker quickly raises a hand, calling for a halt, insisting they only came to help. The hooded man, shocked by the speed of the reaction, hesitates. The attacker explains that their companion has already infiltrated inside and asks if the hooded man can hear them. The hooded man activates a special ability called Appraisal Eye, revealing a cloak that disrupts recognition, explaining why he couldn't see the infiltrator's face before. They question if this is proof of alliance, while the attacker notes the security inside is extremely tight and suggests cooperating quietly. The hooded man agrees, acknowledging that if he were an enemy, he wouldn't get close without attacking. The attacker stresses the urgency, revealing that a large number of elves are going to be sold the next day. They outline their plan. The attacker will enter first to open the prison doors, while the hooded man will come in a few minutes later to neutralize the guards. The hooded man asks for the attacker's name, eyes narrowing with focus. The attacker cheerfully introduces themselves as Aun, smiling widely. The hooded man responds with his name, Nelfi, warning that betrayal won't be forgiven. Aun tells Nelfi to start moving in a few minutes, but Nelfi refuses to move immediately, standing firm as they prepare to work together. A cloaked figure enters a guarded room, immediately drawing the attention of armed men. The figure demands to see the girl from yesterday, insisting on checking her condition before paying. The guards comply, leading the way with a wary welcome. The cloaked figure follows a small animal down a dim staircase. Unlocking a door, he asks if anything unusual has happened. Noting the increased number of guards, the guard nervously denies any incident but reveals rumors have caused the heightened security. The door closes behind them with a heavy thud. Loud noises echo through the narrow hallway, startling the guard who asks what's going on. The cloaked figure calmly suggests checking it out, and the guard agrees hesitantly. The figure instructs the guard to speak with the slave while he moves forward, stepping confidently down the stairs alone. Suddenly, a swift attack unfolds as the cloaked figure strikes down two men with precise, lethal moves. He holds a dagger ready, declaring he will intervene if things become dangerous, prepared to handle any threat that arises. Under the crescent moon, the cloaked figure stands silently in a dim stone hallway. A masked person descends the stairs, asking if the danger has passed. The figure nods, revealing a set of keys and confirming the ordeal is over. Inside a cell, the cloaked figure questions the freed captives about their plans. He wonders if they have a safe place to shelter so many people. A woman acknowledges the thief's skill, and he directs them to a hideout in the East District. He promises to discuss their next steps there and urges them to help move the people quickly. Outside among the rescued, the figure introduces himself as Nelfi, a dark elf. The freed captives express gratitude for their salvation. Nelfi bows slightly, apologizing for doubting them earlier, but the group reassures him that anyone would have done the same in that situation. Nelfi introduces the other members of his party. Drake, Sister Shink, and Big Sis Kinu. He explains they are an S-rank adventurer group called Black Thunderclap. He warns the gathered people that staying here is dangerous with so many of them and advises returning to their homeland inside the illusion forest soon. The children and adults offer to help, showing concern and determination. Nelfi reveals the illusion forest has been destroyed. He confirms it's a place where non-elves get lost, and the group listens intently. The forest was once forbidden to outsiders, but now attackers have burned the village, killed the men, and abducted the women. He explains he didn't witness the destruction firsthand, but survivors told him a red-haired man wielding a flame sword was among the culprits. The group turns toward the fire as Nelfi names the attacker, Pride. A man demands if the red-haired attacker is the same one who stabbed him with a demon sword. Another asks Nelfi if he's sure about this information. Nelfi confirms quietly. A woman explains that while captives were taken to Miralda, a child overheard adventurers and slave traders mentioning that name. Nelfi acknowledges that was when the name was first mentioned. Nelfi reveals he knows a man by that name and suspects he is the one who stabbed Drake with the demon sword. The group agrees to postpone discussing this and focus on evacuation first. Nelfi asks a woman named Aun if she knows a safe place to evacuate to, as she is their only reliable option. Aun hesitates but mentions there is one way that could solve both transportation and shelter, surprising Nelfi. He insists they must trust him despite the danger of capture. He reveals he is a dungeon master managing a dungeon with a special subordinate contract function. If everyone makes a contract with him, they can be instantly transferred to the dungeon's residential area, a safe place. He asks the group what they think of this plan. The others explain that they also have contracts with Aun, who takes good care of them. Nelfi recalls hearing about this in an old tale from his tribe. He questions if living inside the dungeon will be dangerous, but the group reassures him that dungeon monsters will protect them even if intruders come. Nelfi nods, accepting the plan. He assures there's no problem and promises to explain everything to the group. He instructs to make contracts with all of them. The group listens attentively, some looking uncertain but hopeful. A small pig and wolf-like creature show confidence. signaling to leave the task to him. He confirms everyone is now contracted and suggests transferring to Fornoir. The group expresses gratitude and readiness, trusting him. As they prepare to move, a shimmering portal opens beneath them. The scene shifts to a spacious, well-lit hall where they have gathered safely. He reflects on Aun's origins as originally human and acknowledges the hardships she endured. Now that she has made subordinate contracts, she and the demi-humans are companions too. He vows to ensure they all live happily. Then, he enthusiastically asks what kind of living environment they want, ready to set it up. The group shares their desires. Beastmen want open plains to run freely, elves and dwarves want forests, and dwarves want to forge weapons and armor. He reveals he has already created these areas, inviting them to use the workshop and residential spaces on the 3rd and 4th floors, fulfilling their wishes. Ars invites everyone to share any other requests, expressing amazement at the progress. The group thanks him warmly, clearly happy with the safe rooms provided. Ars notes the general satisfaction and announces a strategy meeting about their next move and how to handle the slave traders. The group responds with readiness to discuss. He declares his intent to thoroughly punish both nobles and slave traders but warns that unless they condemn all at once, the nobles will pin the blame solely on the slave traders and evade consequences. Until then, they must hold back from big moves. He plans to visit the slave traders again tomorrow to ensure they see him as a victim of an attack, knowing that if they are targeted now, it will complicate matters. Winning the interclass martial tournament will give their words more weight, and reporting the culprits to the royal family and politicians then will prevent even the nobles from escaping punishment. The group praises Ars's plan, and Aun steps forward with a request to join the Black Thunderclap as well. She explains her desire to repay the favor and help with the group's goal of Seha, showing determination to contribute. The others acknowledge her request with approval and encouragement. The group agrees that Nelfi is trustworthy, capable of handling both intelligence and combat. Ars admits he was just about to ask the same. Sister Shink is told she is getting a lecture, which she reacts to with surprise. Ars reflects that his disguise and acting were still far from perfect, vowing to work harder to improve, while others silently note she doesn't quite understand the situation. Aun scolds Sister Shink sharply, warning her not to do dangerous things and urging her to value herself more. Sister Shink protests, but the others explain that everyone is angry because she is important to them. Tearfully, Sister Shink apologizes deeply. Big Sis Kinu smiles warmly, telling her not to be reckless again, while Nelfi silently admires the strong bonds within the group, calling it a good clan. The group sits around a table, sharing a light moment as Sister Shink wipes her tears. Aun expresses pride in being accepted into their circle. He then shifts the conversation, focusing on Pride, the red-haired demonic swordsman. When asked if he knew Pride, Aun confirms he was likely part of the party he joined as a rookie adventurer. The mood turns serious as Aun reveals that Pride betrayed him, nearly causing his death. He tells the group the timing is right to share what happened 14 years ago, the day he ranked up to D rank and accepted his first extermination request. The scene shifts to the royal capital Arlene, showing a younger Aun at age 14. A woman reprimands him for pushing too hard in a fight, but he retorts that it worked out fine since they won. Reflecting inwardly, Aun recalls being stronger than other rookie adventurers and growing arrogant due to his grandfather's swordsmanship teachings. Aun recalls a boy his age who could match him in combat, Pride, with flaming red hair, a large build, and a taciturn, expressionless demeanor. Alongside them were the mage Arya, healer Dariag, and archer Meloria. The five formed a party called Storm Cloud Legs, all noble children trained in combat from childhood. The group was rumored to be a rising star in Arlene, but Aun found it boring to only defeat weaklings. Pride agrees silently when Aun notes the monotony. Aun surprises Pride by mentioning he once heard him speak. News breaks that a new dungeon has appeared northeast of the city. With rare items easy to find, Pride encourages Aun to seize the opportunity immediately. Energized, Aun and Pride lead the charge, rallying the others to join. They rush into the dungeon without proper preparation. As they fight, Aun notes Meloria's arrows and his own magic points are running low. By the 5th floor, they realize they might need to retreat soon. Suddenly, a monstrous Naga appears, identified as a monster rank B. The group immediately recognizes it as the boss. Aun draws his sword, ready to engage the formidable foe. The battle intensifies as the Naga lashes out, forcing the group into close combat. Aun urgently demands to know what happened to their rear support. The archer apologizes, admitting he's out of arrows, while the mage confesses his magic points are depleted, despite exhaustion. Aun notes he still has half his stamina left and steadies himself to fight on. The Naga strikes again, but Aun remains determined and declares he's okay. Aun braces himself as the masked assailant lunges with a blade, insisting he can still fight. The attacker's sinister smile contrasts with Aun's shocked and sweating face, heightening the tension between them. Seizing the moment, Aun shouts for everyone to run and pushes himself up from the ground. The others scramble to escape as Aun kicks the attacker away. Narrowly avoiding a deadly strike, the Naga looms behind him, mouth wide open, ready to strike. Reflecting on the fight, Aun recalls how his grandfather's training and the potions he brought helped him defeat the Naga. As he stands near the dungeon exit, two stern nobles confront him, accusing him of attacking his companions and monopolizing the loot. Aun, flushed and defensive, confirms his identity as a noble, shocked by their harsh words and the betrayal from the Storm Cloud Legs members. He protests his innocence, insisting he didn't do anything wrong, but the nobles coldly order him to leave the royal capital immediately and pretend the incident never happened. He realizes the noble children abandoning him must have been a huge inconvenience to the nobles. The royal capital is already under their control, leaving no place for him there. At night in the forest, he waits quietly, hoping for a chance at revenge. He recalls that Pride used to come to the forest at night sometimes. Suddenly, he spots Pride and wonders if he's talking to someone else. Memories flood back of being told about the terror of the demon race since childhood. Pride confirms the existence of the demon race, explaining the ancient human-demon war that ended with powerful magic reshaping the land. The demon continent was created as a result. Where demons now live, the weight of this history overwhelms him. He recalls running away without caring how pathetic he looked and eventually settling in Leklia as a solo adventurer. After dying once and becoming a monster, he resolved not to run anymore but to become stronger than anyone else and live as he wanted. He thanks Big Sis Kinu for her kindness, wiping away tears as she comforts him. Suddenly, someone calls out his name, catching his attention. Pride reached S rank 5 years ago and will likely join the ranking battles soon. One declares their intent to completely crush him. They discuss how becoming rank number 1 would give their voice more influence, especially to ensure kidnappings of demihumans are properly punished. The weight of going that far for the demihumans fills one with deep gratitude they struggle to express. The group gathers around a table as one affirms that the others are now their companions and family. They vow never to forgive those who made their family suffer. A smile breaks through as they declare they are no longer alone, comforted by the presence of their new family.